Delivering. Delivering. Dogfish. Delivering. Dogfish. I'm the dude.
Eight, seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fight! You win!
Oh, I like that. I win. I'm already declaring victory.
Okay, Gregory Walker, you are a fucking crack up, brother.
We'll put our money where our mouth is tonight, I suppose.
Yeah, you got to put that one on screen.
If we can decide what money actually is for real.
I will, but we should definitely introduce tonight's guest.
Oh, nice. Jaren's in the room.
Yes, sir.
Tonight we have the most hated man in the flat earth. Somebody who actually does experiments, has spent quite a bit of time researching and investing and talking about crypto. So we, I think Marcus might be frothing at the mouth. I'm not sure. It's not rabies. He's just been dying to have this debate. So we asked on Jaren Campanella. Welcome, Jaren.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. How you doing?
You sound great tonight, Jaren.
I'm the number one most liked flat earther.
Right. Oh, I got that backwards.
Messed up.
Hey, Jaren, it's
we're sarcastic. I caught that.
Jaren, it's nice to meet you, man. I don't believe we've crossed paths yet, but I have watched a ton of your stuff, and yeah, this should be fun.
Well, thank you.
Be fun. And with that, I'm moderating tonight.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay.
I grew up watching and playing hockey, right? So if I'm willing to let it go to blows, and then we'll
Are we
step
talking
in.
about Four Nations?
This every hockey fight gets, everybody gets a few shots in, and as soon as it goes to the ground, then the refs step in, and so that's when I'll step in, but only when it looks like to me that it's going to the ground will I step in. Prior to that, you're allowed to have free exchange and make your points. If people are just talking over each other, then I will be like, hey, shut the fuck up, and whoever talked first can finish their point. I don't really expect that to be the case. I really don't. I just wanted to lay out my own personal moderation rules, and if anybody, if there's prepared opening statements, I'll set a timer on my phone. You guys can have 3 to 5 minutes.
We set it up, Steve. So given basically Jaren a 3-minute opener so he can, or whatever, so he can introduce himself, anything that he's trying to currently promote, things like that, and then 3-minute intro statement, and then
okay. Well, let's give him 5 minutes then.
All right, cool. So go ahead, Jaren. Guest can be first, brother.
All right. Sounds good. This is not something I regularly debate, but it is something that I'm pretty confident in. And the problem is that most people who have a problem with crypto don't recognize what crypto is versus what something that the governments introduce or the governments have their hands in, which is kind of what we have now going on. So it is a transformative financial innovation, and I don't think anybody can argue with that. It is something that didn't exist, say, 15 years ago, but exists now due to the ability of humans to come up with code, and that's all it is a computer code. So in an era where technology is basically reshaping all of our lives, we've already gone to digital photographs, we've gone to digital pretty much everything, but we have not yet gone to a digital money. Of course, crypto being a person-to-person exchange of value is much different than any money that we've ever talked about or known about. Also, the fact that it is deflationary is something that is also something that we're not used to. In a perfect crypto world, you'd actually make less money each year rather than make more. So as weird as that sounds, that's the way it would go. For centuries, governments and central banks have been the one to control the flow of money. They dictate policies. They affect inflation. They can change interest rates. They can change who has financial access. If they don't agree with what you do, they can just take it away from you. But the rise of Bitcoin and all blockchain technology, a new paradigm has emerged, one that challenges the traditional structure and empowers each individual with a decentralized peer-to-peer transaction. I argue that the innovation provides financial freedom or sovereignty, bypasses any intermediaries, and it opens the doors to billions of people who right now do not have access to banks. So it offers security. It offers transparency as far as government use of money. You would be able to actually follow the trail and see everything that they spent their money on. And it's also a hedge against inflation, which we need right now. So critics warn that the volatility of digital assets are a problem, that the security risks could undermine their long-term viability. The question is whether cryptocurrency is truly a reliable store of value and a scalable payment solution. Well, if you accept that the dollar bill paper in your pocket has value, well, crypto is no different. It also is just as worthless as paper, just like in your pocket. However, tonight we're going to examine these critical issues and we'll determine whether or not cryptocurrency is a revolutionary breakthrough or if it's overhyped, a trend, or a government setup. So that's basically all I've got.
Please,
All right.
please throw on your name and where to find you and all that stuff.
Yeah. Plug everything that you would like to plug,
stuff,
and if people are unfamiliar with you, please do let them know where they can find all your work.
Yeah, my stuff's
hard to believe, but there's one or two, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more than that. Jeranism is the name of the channel. It's Jeranism, and YouTube's the best place to find me. I do still do crypto consultations, so I don't do very many of them, maybe one a month. But if you're interested in getting your foot in the door, I kind of can walk you through it. And that's about it. How to get started and how to store it. I don't advocate for trading crypto. I don't advocate for getting rich quick. It is a, one of those systems where you basically are going to have delayed returns. It's not something you should expect to get rich off of right away, even though you may have known somebody who did. So yeah, Jeranism.com is the website. And Jeranism is the YouTube channel. Come by, say hi.
All right, Marcus, you got 3 minutes.
Appreciate that, and I hear everything you're saying, Jaren. And there's a lot of ideas that are quite revolutionary. I'll give a short background to express to the listeners how I'm qualified to even talk about this topic, and that really has to do with the experience of growing up with the internet. First of all, that's a sort of thing. Born in 1986, I think you're probably around that same time. So being born at a time with dial-up and then getting a always-on connection with a DSL line, and then seeing the possibilities that the internet could bring. There was a thing called Quick Star, which was connected to Amway and multi-level marketing, and they were selling through catalogs, and they decided that the internet was going to be a way to sell things, and that didn't quite work out with the challenge, the competition with Amazon that comes along, and maybe there was some extra involvement with greasing the wheels and the old boys clubs and types of things that gave an advantage to one group of business people over another group of people. So with the human psychology aspect and the newer is better, and seeing that in 2008 we had this financial housing crisis thing come up, and a little group of people who were camping out in tents occupying the street where they sold the Wall Street where the bull was. And then that spread to the University of Minnesota. I saw a lot of those tents. I wasn't involved with the protests then, but it became a worldwide issue, the issue of, who's the 1%. So the idea that there is classism racism and all these struggles in the human condition really brought to light with this. And that got us looking at, well, what is money? Why do some people have it? And why do others hoard it and not give it away? And what do we do about that? So then connecting that to, I guess, like church missions groups, and, is it the church's responsibility to feed the poor, or is it the rich's responsibility? All of these things of morality and ethics come to mind. So then with that Occupy Wall Street movement and the housing crisis,
You have
financial
30
bubble,
seconds on this, buddy.
right. That's where we begin the story of the Bitcoin white paper, the mystery of who is Satoshi Nakamoto, and my sort of doubt, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's FUD. Fear of what money is and what it isn't, uncertainty of what markets are and what Bitcoin can do, and doubt that this could just be another Beanie Baby tulip sort of thing.
So to that point, and I'll open it up to Jaren.
I do still get my intro, but we realize that there's 2-1 right now, so you get equal time.
Yeah. So I'll throw it to Jaren for any sort of rebuttal quickly, and then Ben can have his 3 minutes as well.
No, I think that was fine what he said. I mean, you should doubt anything that comes up that's new technology, and be careful with it. Obviously, putting all your eggs in this basket would be foolish, but recognizing it for what it is, that it is an innovative invention. The only thing that I would stress is that it's not going to be a Beanie Baby. You could say that Bitcoin's going to be a Beanie Baby, but cryptocurrency will be here for the rest of our lives. There's no way you'll ever wake up one day and cryptocurrency won't be a thing. That's all.
Mr. Balderson.
Yeah, I would like to thank Jaren for taking the time to come debate. He certainly has plenty of people wanting to debate other events, but he was kind enough to come debate Bitcoin with us. Early in my researches, the fiat monetary system and the way that works was one of the first subjects I came across outside of the occult world. This even became something of a mainstream subject during the Ross Perot campaign of 1992. The understanding of money produced for nothing and paying interest on money not really borrowed became common talk. We add in the removal of the gold backing, and money we have seems worthless. Today, Fort Knox is even in the news, and the possibility of no gold is being bandied about. The decoupling of gold from the dollar has led to all kinds of speculation of how our monetary system is backed, and none of them sound good for the people. The peacocks have something to say about it too. All of this coincided with the computer generation and the internet rise. These became very exciting avenues to work with, not under standard control. Things like the Silk Road and trading outside the control system became an option. People were sold on the idea of having access to financial trading only Swiss banks and such offered. Completely anonymous trading with just a number and everything protected by the vaunted blockchain. Quickly, we saw the government step in and crush Silk Road and threw down a sentence that would resound across the world. Today, the federal government talks about being clear to sell 6.5 billion worth of confiscated Bitcoin from that procedure alone. Today, we see the touted blockchain story changed to one of complete tracking. That through this, they can push button monitor your every transaction. And in a world where Elon Musk openly states the desire to tie finance to social media in all aspects of your life in one easy-to-use app, the terror of a social credit system seems inevitable. The move then...
30 seconds, buddy.
Every move the crypto financial freedom movement has made appears to play right into the hand of those that would control our finance. It is not hard to imagine a very near future where your every aspect of life is monitored and controlled, and I would call this the biggest step. All of this appears to me the opposite of making money real again, and rather than free the people, seems to be the best weapon to enslave the people even further.
So with that, I guess I will open it up to the title of the episode. Is Bitcoin freedom, or is it a Trojan horse? And Jaren, since you're the guest tonight, you can have up to 5 minutes to present a case in the affirmative.
Okay. So if you mentioned that, government can track.
I'm sorry, quickly. And then after that, we can kind of freeform this as much as possible. In fact, I would prefer that.
Yeah, I prefer the two. So I don't think I need any specific.
Agreed.
Time. Okay, good. We'll just go to that. So I'll just ask you, when you talk about government tracking, so the problem with that with crypto is that these exchanges popped out, right? And one of the things with crypto is that anybody can do anything that they want. There's no real rules about who can start a coin, who can't. So I can go make a coin tomorrow if I want and start a coin myself. But the issue is that these companies like Coinbase and Kraken, they opened up because they were like, hey, we'll be a bridge between money and crypto. And the problem with that is as soon as you do that, and they are a KYC company in the United States, which means they have to know your customer, right? So if you're a bank or you're a money exchanger in the United States, the law says that you have to know the people you're dealing with, meaning you can't give money or take money from anybody unless you know everything about them, their ID, where they live, everything. So when those guys went into business, and could that have been some sort of Trojan horse? Yeah, certainly, because what it did was it married the Bitcoin world with the financial world. So now if I want to go buy Bitcoin, I have to go to Coinbase. I've got to give them all my information since they're a KYC mandatory company, and then I can buy Bitcoin. Well, at that point, you've now attached your name and your information to an address that you have Bitcoin in your account, right? So that's the problem. Now, if Ben today told me, Jaren, can you pay me $100 in Bitcoin? If he could just go on to, exodus.com, download the wallet, give me his address, I send it to him, and nobody in the world would know who he is. So it depends on the way that you go about doing it. There's certainly ways to stay safe and to stay anonymous, and there's ways to not. And so I can see the warning there, but it's also not something that will ever be able to be stopped as long as we have laws in the United States that require KYC from money exchangers. So it's not a crypto problem. It's a money problem and a law problem in the United States.
Except for that doesn't exist with cash money. I can walk in and certainly the person sees me, but I can walk in and I can exchange my money for whatever goods and nobody knows that happened. Now, the ultimate goal for crypto, especially to make it useful, would obviously be to be able to walk into a store, plunk down some groceries, throw up your little crypto thing, and it pays for your groceries, yada, yada, just like cash. So you can actually it's now become a tool similar to cash, replacing cash. At that point in time, literally every single transaction you have is now absolutely monitored, where with cash, I can walk in and buy whatever I want.
True. If you were to, like I said, you asked me for $100, I paid you in Bitcoin. If you found a store that offered items for Bitcoin, you could walk in there and pay with your Bitcoin. They would have no idea who you are. So it is possible. Again, the problem is that once they introduce a tracking system, which is simple as, hey, go open up a exchange for crypto to cash, because now somebody who joins in. So the difference is if you would go get that $100 from Coinbase, then Coinbase has now attached your name to that address. So when you go to the store and pay with it, they can find out if they needed to who it was. And then if you go do something else with it, they would always know who you are because you've now connected your name to the crypto address. So that is, some people have chosen to circumvent that in certain ways. Other people have chosen to not care about it. Like, it's okay, they're tracking me, big deal. And then there's other people that would not get tracked no matter what, who are still able to execute in the crypto world. The problem, of course, would be if you ever wanted to exchange your crypto for cash, unless you do it to a person, if you go to any kind of exchange, again, you're marrying now your address to the account number. So I do see the issue with that. With cash, the problem with that is, of course, who issues the cash, right? The person who issues the cash is the third party, is the Bitcoin, is the government. And so we get back into inflationary currency, and also, whatever the government could be doing, they could be printing money left and right. We wouldn't know. Right. So with crypto, just to let you know, with Bitcoin, there's 21 million Bitcoin ever. That's it. There'll never be more. There can never be any more inflationary. That's not going to create new Bitcoins. They create new Bitcoins every 10 minutes right now, but until there's 21 million, and then there'll be no more. So it's a much better system in thought if there's not a connection to the government. Now, of course, Satoshi Nakamoto, even though we don't know who that was, the person who submitted the white paper, never made any mention of any connecting to any banking systems, because the point of crypto was to not do that. But when somebody comes along and says, hey, I'll be a banking system and I'll accept your crypto for cash, and if people go and use that, you're not going to be able to stop that. And now those people's names and addresses are tied to their Bitcoin address. So that is certainly the case.
Sure. So let's go back to the history and the timeline from the release of the white paper of Bitcoin to its first minted block, generated block, mined block, whatever. This is all new technology. This is all new terminology. It's all very new, and there was no way to exchange it for cash. The BitInstant was being thought up. Mt. Gox was selling Magic the Gathering cards. That's the MTG of MTG OX. So at that point, people were excited about the potential for the technology. It was similar to Linux, where you developed the code and it was all open source and people could just build whatever they wanted with it. This was the fun period. This was the Wild West. And looking back now through the forums that were originally the hangout, a lot of that stuff remains as important history of what happened and who contributed what to Bitcoin and who built upon Bitcoin with other services. Now, there's a guy named Gavin Andresen. Are you familiar with Gavin, Jaren?
I think I've heard his name, yeah.
Okay, so Gavin Andresen had his picture, his face, his full name on the Bitcoin website. And this is around the same time where WikiLeaks was having trouble with payment processors. So forgive me for not knowing with certainty which came first in this convoluted timeline of events. This is where everything sort of happens at the same time. But I want to point out the fact that Gavin Andresen was in communication with an email address saying that they were Satoshi Nakamoto, of course. And in this email exchange, Satoshi is receiving a conversation with Gavin Andresen and places Gavin's email address on the website. Are you familiar with this timeline?
Yeah, I've heard this story before.
Okay, so what happens is now we have a public-facing figure, Gavin Andresen, whose email address is reachable. At that point, In-Q-Tel and CIA invite him to give a presentation talking about what this is. Now, not a lot of people openly talk about this anymore, but this is something we need to discuss. So at that point, which is shortly after the Occupy Wall Street movement, and a short recap of that was people were hanging out in Wall Street, and then that spread to other cities. And at some point, the governor of New York basically worked with the police to say, we need to remove these people. Okay, so they're getting really annoying. We need to do something with them. It's around that time that people are deciding that Bitcoin could be an anti-government measure. So the government has been very concerned from day one about money supply and invite Gavin Andresen to give a presentation. And he talks about this very early on about his information sharing and working with full participation with them. So that kind of puts a different idea on the fact that there are many libertarians and anti-government types and anarchists early on who were saying that this is going to be outside of the realm of government. What is your perspective, Jaren, on the government's role and maybe their slowness to determine the classification of what Bitcoin is? Was it a is it money? Is it a commodity? What is it? The SEC and others.
I think that the problem with the government was at first they didn't recognize that it would have holding power, that it would not be cryptographically broken. And so they didn't put a lot of stock into it and just kind of let it go, figuring, hey, it's going to hit a corner at some point, or it's going to hit a dead end. Once, I don't even know what year it would be, right around 2012-ish, maybe, I think that they started to realize that they were behind the eight ball, that people were starting to be interested in it. It was starting to gain value. And so they then put a big team on it and started to come up with the idea of the central bank digital currency, because they had kind of seen that, okay, it's going digital. Okay, this code does work. Okay, you can secure accounts this way. And so they, of course, couldn't just be like, okay, we'll go along with it, because it would take over and it would be a problem for government. So as of right now, I believe that they're trying to work on a central bank digital currency, which of course is not cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a person-to-person exchange of value without the need of a third party. So if the government introduces something called cryptocurrency or called Bitcoin or called whatever they want to call it, that is not person-to-person exchange of value without, that is person-to-person exchange of value with a third party involved. So people should shun away from that immediately. When they hear about the CBDC, they should decline it. They should deny it, because that is the best way for the government to track every penny you ever spend. So as far as the government's involvement, sure, they've got to have people that are out there looking at it. They've got to have people that are looking into the code. I'm sure the NSA is looking to the code, but the code is such that it's so simple to when you really think about what this person came up with. It's kind of shocking it took this long for them to come up with it, because what they couldn't do is if we have a text file and I have some text on there and I send you that text file, TXT, they're identical, right? So the problem with digital world is, how do you differentiate between one text file versus another text file? They're both identical. So what Satoshi came up with is there a number that is so big that no matter how many times you go to the well and try and pick out a number, that you'll never hit the same number twice? And he came up with an answer for that. And that is the quadrivigintillion numbers of private keys that there are. Now, nobody could ever house that much information, right? In order to have every cryptocurrency private key onto one computer would take all the memory power in the entire world put together. That's how much memory it would take just to hold the Bitcoin amount of addresses. So what that does is, it's basically, because a computer can know to randomly take a number between 0 and, let's say, 1 with 100 zeros, right? So you could just tell the computer, randomly select one of these digits, then do a little bit of cryptographic math to come up with a private key, and then give it to the person who asked for it. And many people don't realize this, but no matter what wallet you have, no matter whether it's on your phone, whether you have Exodus, whether you've got Ethereum, whatever you use, when you go and request a new Bitcoin address, it does not even check to see if anybody else has that Bitcoin address. It randomly selects a number, 1 to 14 quadrivigintillion, does a little math, pulls out the private key, and now you have the private key. So you can now store money into that number, and nobody can ever get to it, because it would take them randomly guessing it correctly again. And so that's what crypto is. So the government really can't do anything other than make it illegal, which would be a problem, or they can create their own, which is what they're trying to do. But that, or have people in the right places and have, watching the on ramps and off ramps, if you will. So if you want to get into Bitcoin, you have an exchange like Coinbase. They can watch that. You want to get out of crypto? Well, you got to go cash it out at Coinbase so they can watch that. But beyond that, the government really has no say in what happens in cryptocurrency.
Right. So then I'd like to talk a little bit about BitInstant again. This gets back to, how do I convert whatever Bitcoin I have into United States dollar? And BitInstant was a company created early on by Charlie Shem, and their whole goal was to make it so you could instantly transfer USD and then receive Bitcoin. And they'd figure that out, because the money transfer thing would maybe take 7 days to clear in a bank or something, but that would be too long. And they wanted to develop a market that could respond quickly. And the idea that there would be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week market for trading and exchange was really the goal for this. Now, this gets complicated when the Winklevoss twins, the same guys who got involved with Facebook, or was it LifeLog, I'm scratching my head here. This is because there's the official movie version with a really cool soundtrack, but I don't know if that's actually what happened with Facebook. So now we're getting into the realm of conspiracy and hearsay and urban legend about what the creation was. I do know that Charlie Shem, working with BitInstant, had the Winklevoss twins come in, and the Winklevoss twins were accelerating the growth of BitInstant, which caused it to grow really quickly. And at the same time, this is when an eBay alternative was sprouting up called the Silk Road. And Russ Ulbricht, is finally free after doing so many years of prison time.
Thank any god that you credit for that, and Angela McArdle for selling the Libertarian Party up the river for the next generation in order to secure his freedom.
Right. So we have a powerful technology. People see the value of this technology as a tool to move value, funds, money, whatever it is around. And when the Winklevoss brothers show up to toy around with this thing, and Charlie Shem takes the fall. He's 23 years old, 24 years old. He takes the fall due to the fact that he's talking to another guy calling himself the BTC King, who is openly admitting that he's getting Bitcoin from Charlie, from BitInstant, to give BTC to Silk Road users, which implies that anyone who shops on Silk Road is a criminal because they wanted to buy hitmen, drugs, sex, or illicit things that they couldn't buy on the open market on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, that was in my personal history with this, realizing that people are going to jail for this. It's kind of a Wild West. The laws are being applied unevenly, sometimes slow, sometimes fast, and then all at once. Kind of causes me to slow down and be much more cautious in terms of involvement with this process.
Well, if you're doing anything illegal, that's a problem, right? So again, if you are asking me whether or not we should have laws, that's another debate altogether. But as far as the laws of the United States right now, if anybody came to me and said, "Hey, I've been sex trafficking," or if I've been dealing drugs, any of those things, I'm going to tell them, well, you better be careful, because if the police find out, you're going to be arrested and put in jail. So the same is true with if you're using crypto to circumvent the laws. If they catch up to you, you're done. Whether you're using crypto or cash or whatever you're using, it doesn't really matter.
I'll remind you again, Charlie Shrem was the guy who was exchanging United States dollars for Bitcoin, had nothing to do with the Silk Road, but Charlie Shrem was arrested for association, guilty by association.
Well, I believe that he was arrested for money exchange, which is against the law in the United States. So you
At
can't.
that point it was, but now it's a little bit different today.
If you are going to be a permanent exchanger of money, you need to do KYC laws. You need to be a financial institute. That's why I can't just start offering money orders, Jaren's money orders, because I would be exchanging money for a piece of paper that's equal to money, and then it would be sent, and then somebody over there would have to cash it in. So
Right.
I would have to know my customers.
That's when the government was deciding if they were going to issue so-called bit licenses
Right.
to individuals. And this is where the government was toying around with regulation. My point is, early on, there was this Wild West attitude which attracted a lot
True.
of greed and charlatans and people who were interested in amassing a large amount of money. And at this point, the government might have been keeping files and tabs on people, but then not pulling the trigger.
Oh, that's for
on them
sure.
right away.
That for sure happens. And
Mhm.
most of the crypto world right now is scammers. So it's no different than that. And I think that no matter what new money system you come out with will attract scammers. Scammers love money. Scammers do everything they can to procure it. So that's also not a knock against crypto per se. If you have no monitoring of a certain thing, well, then it's going to be a haven for scam artists. And that's something that we really can't stop unless people are smart enough to recognize the scam when it's coming at you and to steer away from it. But we know people still fall for the Nigerian prince scam. So
unless your new monetary system was not a fiat system. If we actually used it, some type of precious metal backing would probably be the best. Obviously, the gold back, there's only so much gold. A substantial amount of silver was also used in our monetary system. So just basically precious metals that have a blue chip type value. If you backed a monetary system by that, then there is no scam.
How do you know how much gold there is in the world? So let's say the Chinese consulate has tons of gold multiple tons of gold underneath their consulate. How would we know that? And how would they not be able to manipulate the system? Because we don't know we know there's 21 million Bitcoins. You can account for every one of them. With silver or gold, we have no idea. Plus they can always go and mine more. Right. So there would always.
So if you were going to, if you had this stockpile of gold, and the situation you described is something like a pump and dump, it would be the longest pump and dump in the world, where you've driven up prices of something you have a mass of, and then you release your mass of things out onto the market at this inflated price, knowing that eventually you'll have put enough out into the market in order to
well, you could keep the price high, right? So let's say that the Chinese have a whole bunch of tons of gold, and what they do is they just cash it in as they need it. The price would stay high because the price is based off of the amount available, but only that there's actually a lot more available. You're just not letting people know that. So you could just slowly leak out your gold when you need to make money off of it, and you could actually, by manipulating that system, you could stay rich forever. The Chinese would just be rich forever.
Well, I mean, that just sounds smart. That's just a basic gold miner. Like any gold miner, why would you not trickle out what you need in order to pay the bills? Why would you exchange your item that is always going to gain value and historically always has, and trade it all into cash, which historically is always deflated? That just seems fucking smart to me. I'm not sure how that's insidious. And then also,
but every government can do that, right?
The advantage with a pump and dump is there's no actual good. There's no actual real labor put into this. In order for me to go retrieve gold, or any precious metal, the amount of labor that is put into that is astronomical. It's not the same as a pump and dump where you devalue the product and don't give a shit because you never really put anything into the product.
And that's why Bitcoin miners are important, because what they're doing is doing exactly that, right? It costs so much to mine a Bitcoin that it does them no good to basically do what you're saying that they would do. So it takes so much money to run a computer that mines Bitcoin that you're actually putting work into it. And
what is the work that Bitcoin mining does? You told me that there's large numbers and it's solving something. It is
correct.
What is the Bitcoin mining doing? Is it just
basically releasing coins at a certain known?
I understand that it's releasing coins and it's keeping the ledger in the blockchain
correct
from the double spend. I'm asking you, what does the algorithm that determines who is awarded a Bitcoin? What is the CPU, the GPU, the processing? It's doing all this thing. It's generating a lot of electricity needs and heat. It's working. It's doing something. What is it doing?
It's doing a mathematical equation.
Okay, and what is the mathematical equation solving?
Nothing really. It's just what you have to do to tie two blocks together is there's a cryptographic key, basically, and then
how do you know it's doing nothing? Like it's just solving a thing, but it's not decrypting, it's not hacking a password.
Well, it's kind of that. It's kind of uncrypting the known number to move to the next block, and they can control how difficult it is based on how long it took the last one to do.
Did you ever mine on a laptop like early on?
No, I think
2009, 2010. Did you ever put it on a laptop?
I wasn't into it until
when the first Bitcoin daemon came out, and you could run it on a laptop, and you could just run it overnight to see if you got lucky or not.
Right.
Were you around for that?
No, I wasn't. No,
okay. Were you around for the Tor times when we were on the dark web using the Silk Road?
Sure.
Did you ever get on the Silk Road and see what was available?
I did.
Okay, and you understand the Onion Router Tor?
And that's where you got the hookers and blow from, Gregory Walker.
Do I understand the what about Tor?
Tor, the protocol,
Sure.
the onion router,
Right.
Yeah.
and
So
and
that's what
the government that created the onion router that was used essentially to access the Silk Road.
You're saying the government created the onion router itself?
Correct. Yeah, that's pretty well understood. That
I didn't know that. So
Okay.
I mean, but regardless, so that what they did was basically because it's still used today, right?
right. Yeah.
Okay. So the people using it today are just doing it with that knowledge that the government is basically watching over it.
Well, I don't know if they're watching over it. There's the exit node scams, and there's the fact that if you have an exit node, whoever controls the exit node, if you could have access to that, then you'd be able to work backwards to see where the traffic was going
Gotcha.
through, that sort of thing. So I'm not here to argue the anonymity or operational security and how to stay anonymous on the internet. That's not what this conversation is about. I'm just bringing up the point that knowing that the government, the SEC, the FBI, all these places are very concerned about money laundering and drug trafficking and things. And yet some of the tools that have been used for the Silk Road have been government funded and created and coded.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that in the least bit. In fact, there's a character by the name of Michael Moriarty that I got involved with in 2012 that was basically stealing Bitcoin from people. And I actually think to this day, it's the government. I think that he works for the government because what he was doing is just setting up random websites people would go to, and they would be like, exchange Bitcoin for PayPal. And the person would get there and it would say, I'm going to send this much. And it would say, well, you're going to get this much PayPal back. And then you would send that Bitcoin. And that was the end of the whole thing. You just sent the Bitcoin to a scammer and you would never get your PayPal money. And if you tried to call PayPal and say, hey, I just got scammed, they would shut down your account because you were doing something illegal. You were dealing with Bitcoin through PayPal, which they didn't allow. They do allow it now, but they didn't allow it then. And so I don't doubt that those things exist and that the government has a hand in trying to, because it would be a smart idea, right? A bunch of people have Bitcoin, you're the government, you don't want people using it. So you put out these agents who steal Bitcoin from people. Then your government is stockpiling Bitcoin while other people are getting scammed and saying, I'll never use Bitcoin in my life. And then you're the government, you come up on that. That's what you want, right? So again, can I really knock Bitcoin for that? As much as I can knock people who would show up at a website they've never heard of and send their Bitcoin when you should know that when you send your Bitcoin, it's gone. You can't get it back without knowing the person. So it's more of a learning process for people. I don't think people are ready. And think how many people have lost their Bitcoin because they forgot passwords or whatever. So people are probably not ready fully for a cryptocurrency world, but there's no way you're going to get them ready other than to get it going, get it started, and see what happens. But I don't disagree with you for the most part about the questions and the definite caution that people should have when dealing with crypto. That's why when I do my consultations, I try and teach people very simply how to acquire it, how to store it, and that's it, and hold on to it. And then in 10 or 20 years, I believe that the delayed gratification will be well worth it. Again, if you bought Bitcoin when it was $1,000 and you said, okay, I'm going to wait for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, now it's worth 100,000. So that would have been a very smart move. Now, most people who bought it at 1,000 sold at 2,000, and most people who bought at 2,000 sold at 3,000. So there's not a lot of people getting rich like we think. In fact, it might just be governments and the rich people getting rich off Bitcoin again, right? Because more money, the more money you have, the easier it is to make money. We know that.
Well, this is where I want to step in for a moment and pose the question. Then, in light of the fact that Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, said Bitcoin is going to 700K this year, and BlackRock has partnered up with the European Union for a Bitcoin ETP. And we've been talking about Bitcoin ETFs here in the United States for, I think, 2 or 3 years now. Is Bitcoin at this moment a tool of the government?
It's definitely a tool of the rich at this point, because again, if you're somebody who's just Joe Blow on the street, you work at 7-Eleven, now the price of Bitcoin is so high that it's not really going to benefit you. And also the way that they have made it a store of value rather than a means of exchange which again is off of what its original plan was, then that makes it more difficult because people are not using it right now to buy little items. And that was, if you remember the beginning of Bitcoin, right? It was about, oh, there'd be microtransactions. You'd be able to tip somebody on Twitter 2 cents, and you'd be able to. That's why it's it's so far divisible. But that's not the direction it went. So I can see where anybody would say at this point it is a dangerous proposition because the government is involved. However, the reason the government's involved is because they're stockpiling it so that they can be rich. And so if you're able to get it and you're able to store it as securely, then in 10 years, you should be sitting pretty nice. Again, not trading it, not trying to come up big right away, not when you have $1,000, it goes up to 2,000, you don't sell it. That's, I don't know if you've ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Great book, but he talks about thinking like you're rich or thinking like you're poor. And he describes all the things that poor people do, which is go to a casino, they spend $1,000, they make 1,000, and they think they had a great day. Like, I just made it $1,000 at the casino today. Or when they buy a property for $30,000 and then it goes up to 60,000, they sell it and they think they did real great. Look, I made $30,000. That's not what the rich do at all. The rich buy a property for $30,000 and they shelve it for 20 years on purpose, knowing that in 20 years it'll be worth 13 million. So as a normal person, it's very difficult for us to execute delayed gratification because a rich person can do that. They can delay gratification because they can have instant gratification. So it's no problem delaying gratification. For us, that's a problem, right? If we delay gratification, it may mean that we are not eating. It may mean we're not paying rent. So I told people back when Bitcoin was, I believe at the time it was like $14,000. I was telling people, do whatever you can to get 0.25 Bitcoin. I said, because if you own 0.25, which is still the truth, then you own more than 99% of the world forever. And that's just simply math, that there's no way that if you own 0.25, which is 1/84 millionth of Bitcoin, if you own one of those, then you can never own less than 99%. You will always own more than 99% of the world. So I do think that there's ways to use Bitcoin to the positive. Do I wish it would stay like the original idea was? Yeah, of course. But you've got a bunch of people that are greedy. Who said earlier, they're saying something about it's a haven for greedy people. Absolutely. And they've even gone as far as to start, because when you send a transaction, you can actually put whatever fee you want. And so when Bitcoin started, everyone was just putting a penny fee and it was going right through and everything was fine. But then when people started to have a lot of Bitcoin, they said, well, I want my transaction to go first. So they would put 10 cents and then that transaction would go first. And then the miners would get to the 1 cent transactions after. So, but the problem with that is that's just continued to go up. More and more people now are being greedy and saying, I want my transaction first. So now the fees are like $2 or $3 to send a Bitcoin or send any Bitcoin. Maybe it's like $2. And so the problem with that is, of course, it went away from its original intention. People complain about it, but it's like, no, that's people. It's people's greed doing the fees. That nobody sets the fees, and then they're like, well, don't the miners get to pick which transactions? Of course, and it's people's greed. So the miner's going to take the $2 transaction way before they take your 1 penny transaction. In fact, if you do a 1 penny transaction today, it'll never go through. There will always be another transaction in front of it worth more that the miners will take.
Yeah, and that gets into the block size debate and the microtransactions. And again, I'm still in the early history reminiscing about the time when I was promised that OpenBazaar would be an eBay alternative, and PayPal was freezing funds and was just difficult to deal with. Now, of course, PayPal and eBay having a real strong relationship together would not want an open source OpenBazaar platform to open up that would accept cryptocurrency transactions. It would just cut into their business deal. So there is that sort of greed, and there's like stockholders who would be angry if the Bitcoin or the PayPal mafia guys, Peter Thiel and others, allowed OpenBazaar to take over. So there was an interview with the guy who developed OpenBazaar, and he ended up going to work for Kraken in exchange later on. He just had to shelve the thing. The software is still available, but if no one uses it, this is a network effect. If no one uses the software, you can have the most ideal software. No one uses it. And then what are you going to do? And there were exchanges early on that people weren't using, but were incentivized to use and were given the equivalent of cash money in Bitcoin to use the thing. So the early days were quite Wild West. There was a libertarian idea. There was an idea of going against the government, not having a master, not having a slave, not having to worry about central banks or anything, and we're just going to do our own market. But then that would maybe get into, do you want to talk about Ethereum and Vitalik Buterin and how there was this idea that, well, you know what, we can take what we've learned and do our own thing and fork it off?
Right, which is what everybody's done now, right? I mean, there's probably over 1 million, if not more than that, coins. Most of them are scams. Most of them are pump and dumps. People have figured out how to do that. They've also
there are coins that are built upon certain blockchains. So let's be clear. There's Bitcoin, and then there's Ethereum, and now there's something called Solana, which released the Melania coin today.
Yeah, there's probably a ton of blockchains, like hundreds of thousands. I don't even know.
So people can mint their tokens on different blockchains.
Correct.
This is the whole financialization of all this technology. And then there's the idea that, Bitcoin maximalists will say that BTC is all there is. Everything else is a shit coin.
Yeah, and I believe that that's been my take for the most part. Although I saw people getting rich or getting really lucky with some of these other coins. And so I started to venture into that arena and realized that they're all insiders making money off of it, right? So
pre-mined coins,
yes,
inside trading groups, airdrops, targets to sell at, this type of thing. So you're 100%. You're essentially trading in a 24/7 market against AI algorithms that are optimized to outbid you, outsell you.
You'll never beat them.
Outperform you.
Yep, never beat them. So that is a problem. But again, I don't necessarily call that a problem with the technology or with the coins themselves. I mean, I have said before that I wish they would just get to a point like now and just say, okay, no more coins can be made. If you did that, then what would happen is the best coins would rise to the top, the worst ones would disappear, and we would end up with decent coins. The problem is in a crypto world, that defeats the idea of crypto. Who's deciding when to stop it and who's deciding? So if it's going to be open, then it has to just be open, meaning anybody can make a coin at any time. And people are really naive and they fall for a lot of traps and tricks, and they are very greedy. You should see the amount of people that fall for these, what are they called? HYIP, high interest or high yield interest programs, which are basically just all Ponzi schemes.
Was that what Hex coin was about? And Richard Hart?
Hex is it's hard to call that a Ponzi, because in a Ponzi scheme, the reason it's called a Ponzi is you're offering people, give me $1 today, I'll give you $2 tomorrow. And then you are just taking the money from newcomers, paying off the people that you said you do that. And at some point you run out of money and those people all get left with nothing. But with what he did, with Richard Hart did, is he's kind of circumventing the idea of Ponzi by saying, give me 10 coins, I'll give you 100 coins. The thing is, that will happen because it's in the code. So you will always get the coins that you said you would get. The problem is that the value, right? So this is where you get screwed, is that if he says, buy these 10 coins for $1 each, and you buy $10 worth of coins, and then he says, I'm going to give you 100 coins at the end of 5 years, you're like, great, that's fantastic. But then if the coin is worth 0.0004 cents and you get 100 coins in 5 years, then you just got hosed. So that's basically what Hex is. And
you interviewed Richard Hart on your stream in 2002 or 2022?
Yeah, I think that's about that when.
And I'm just curious about that. Did you reach out to him? He reached out to you? How did that?
Yeah, I think that I reached out to him. Basically,
have you been a longtime fan of Richard Hart?
No, I was a fan of right before. So what happened was people were talking about him, and I was saying, I don't know about this guy. He seemed to be very over the top, very condescending, cocky, showing his $400,000 watches, which I think is a joke. I think anybody, that's a joke. I think of what I could do with 400,000. I could live for the rest of my life and do good things with it, right? He's buying a watch to show off. So no, I had a problem with him for that reason. However, he did seem to be somebody that was doing what was good for people. I was more interested in his pulse chain fork of the Ethereum network than I was of Hex. In fact, you can ask any of my crypto group. I was anti-Hex for a long time because I told people that I was able to do the math, right? If you're going to get a certain amount of coins in 15 years, I was able to project that out and say, let's say the coin's worth $1 then. Well, then some of the returns were like, put in $14 million today and you'll make 35 billion in 15 years. And I was telling people that's impossible. You can't. Where's the money coming from? And they would be like, it's in the code. I'd say, no, the code allows for the coins, but I'm talking about the value of the coins. It never can be that high. So they argued with me. And then I think they're finding out now that now nobody even cares about their Hex stakes because they're all worth so little that you'll definitely make less money than you put in. So again, is that a knock on Richard Hart? I'm not sure if he knew that would be the outcome. He should have known. But now with the Pulse chain, because what that is really just a fork of Ethereum. And it's a cheaper fork. It's cheaper to send, because I don't know if you've ever seen Ethereum fees are a joke.
They're ridiculous.
They're the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Jaren, and I don't mean to interrupt the debate, and I'm sorry.
We're both on Rockfin also, Jaren.
It's a particular point of contention. Jaren, I don't know if you know, but if you follow every single content creator on Rockfin right now, and then you go click on top of the week or top of the month, it's me and Richard Grove, and that's fucking it. That's all there is. I dominate that platform, and I don't get paid shit from it. I don't. And it's largely because of the way that they've forked their fucking token. It is. You can. It is undeniable. Please, everybody, go follow every content creator on Rockfin, and then go follow AM Wake Up. It's me, dude. I run that platform. They've never done a fucking thing for me. They've never reached out to me. They've never fucking been like, hey, dude, you're kind of crushing it. We noticed that we gave a whole bunch of money to Chrissy Mayer and Jay Dyer and a bunch of other people. We didn't give you shit. And I don't give a fuck about that. I really don't. But it's me and Richard Grove and Sam Tripoli.
And to be honest with you, they gave me money to come over there. So they had me get off of Patreon, and they said, come over here, and how much you're making at Patreon, we'll give you an equal amount, or they gave me a little bit more than that. And they said, for the first 6 months, and then it's, whatever happens. Well, in the 6 months, I never made less than what they said they would give me. So they never paid me anything. They just, I just took the money I was getting. And then immediately after that, about 2 years ago, the money went to nothing. I mean, I started making
full on rug pull.
And it's sitting at 47 cents right now. The Ray token is sitting at 47 cents.
Well, they switched to USDC. They're going to pay you in USDC.
They pay direct in USDC, and it's nothing.
Right. Yeah, because what they're doing now is basically I don't know if you call that a Ponzi. So the plan was, people pay for their service. Let's say we get 300,000, and then we take what we need out of the 300,000, then we pay the creators with the 300,000. But I think that when you do things with coins, you stay away from government taxes, right? They're not being taxed.
Well, this is just solving the payroll issue. They figured it out to make the payroll easy, so they can run with limited overhead,
right? And
just keep the video platform performing. So that's part of the innovation. But again, the best laid plans, the mice and men, whatever, how that goes.
But you need to have people continue. You need to grow your product, right? If you don't grow your product, then you're saturating it, and that's what they did. They kept bringing on all these creators. And if you have so many creators, but you don't have a lot of people paying for the service, then you don't have enough money to give people what they're actually worth, because you're kind of paying everybody something.
Were the Ray tokens ever listed on any open exchanges?
But, well, you mean like,
could I buy Ray tokens and
you could
tip with Ray tokens directly on the website?
Sure, but why would you do that?
Right.
That's the problem. That's the problem with the coin, is that there's no benefit to people buying the coin.
Because there was something called LBRY library, which was going to be another video
when
website.
They tipped, were they not buying the coin in your name? Because people tipped us cash and we got paid in coins. So
we got paid.
Mechanism basically not the same.
Yeah, what they're doing is they're taking that money and then going and buying the coin for whatever the value is. And their thought was, if there's a lot of buy pressure, then the value goes up, which is true. So, but you have to keep buy pressure up, which means you have to keep the subscriptions coming in. If you fall below your subscription number, then there's no buy pressure. So what happens to a coin when that happens? It drops in value. On top of that, if the clients don't feel strong about the money, which none of us on Rockfin did, everybody cashed out as soon as they got it. So then that's lowering the price, right? When you cash out, you're just lowering the price. So it didn't work as they planned, for sure.
On top of that, the value of the Ray token was in how much was being held. So as soon as they paid out, the token devalued.
Right. Yep. And then people went and cashed out, and it devalued it more.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, it was again, I think from an outsider's perspective, it's hard to tell which one of these programs is ever going to work. And it kind of seems like they're all in a way kind of like Ponzi schemes, but they're all dependent on buy pressure, right? You need to have people who are always increasing the value of your coin. And the only way to do that is to have the desire for it to go up. Well, why would somebody desire the coin unless it was worth money and people saw the value going up? Again, in your head, it sounds like a great idea. We'll get more subscribers. It'll drive the money up. When we sell it, it'll drive it down. People will buy in. But the problem with that is they never did anything to grow our numbers. They don't even recruit people anymore. Who's the last new person to Rockfin that is worth anything? Nobody. Maybe I don't even remember. Owen Benjamin, maybe when they brought him on, that was like 3 years ago.
And then that turned into a complete shit show right out the
anything.
Yeah, he just dropped N-bombs until they kicked him off.
Right.
And then, that whole thing was an entire shit show.
Yeah.
But it's wild to me that.
Well, he shouldn't even have been there because he didn't like crypto. He said he hated it. I don't even care about the coin.
Yeah.
So then that attitude is how you're going to, you need to be a network that's everybody's into it, into growing their numbers. I don't even see people say subscribe to Rockfin. I never hear that.
No, because why would you at this point? Like,
they probably would have done well with Owen had he not already gotten into bed with Teddy Spaghetti in his unsolicited or whatever TV, their thing.
Unauthorized.
Unauthorized TV. If he hadn't already gotten into that, they might have done something, because with him, he had a giant platform, left YouTube, so it was very Wild West. Whoever could grab him, you're getting a bunch of people that are YouTube is mistreated, and that's a huge number that you should have access to. So I can see where that getting him. The problem being with that format is that there's no large creators anymore. The large creators came from YouTube.
Right.
And the numbers that we saw back in 2020, those just don't really happen anymore. No. The kind of the way that you could go from being nobody to having 100,000 subs in a year after 2020, that was over.
Yeah, there's not that.
Yeah, that shit ended. For you to grow in that way, so there's not even a people to bring in that have had that kind of growth in receiving that kind of growth to drag them over. Even with and then the problem with what happened with Owen, don't get me wrong, he dropped the N-bomb 5,000 times. He pushed the limits until he got kicked off. But when you say that when YouTube is kicking everybody off, and then you say that we're not, we're free speech, say whatever you want, and then one of the dudes gets kicked off, it's all bad from there. It's all bad. That's the doom, which we need, which this isn't a Rockfin debate. The main point that you seem to be holding on to is this ability to take Bitcoin and interchange it between two people.
Yeah, which is the original intent, right? Person-to-person exchange of value without
the person-to-person exchange, and that the only trigger happens when there's an attempt to exchange the crypto in and of itself for actual real dollars,
which was also never in the white paper, right? So never was there talk about getting cash for it. Now, because really the idea was if enough people had it and were using it, then you would come over to mow my lawn and I would pay you in Bitcoin. And
that's there was never any intention to develop an axe that cuts down trees but can also cut through a skull and kill somebody. The intention isn't really placed in the white paper. A tool is a tool. We can look towards intentionality when it comes to Bankman-Fried and the FTX thing. Mm-hmm. Knowing what we know now, who was using it and where the money was, it was a place to develop funds, to grow funds, and then to fund the Democratic Party of the United States of America. Is that what you found out?
Yeah, I think that's what they would really fund more than that. Pretty much fund any of the government initiatives.
Correct. So there was a time when the government was stating that Bitcoin could be used by terrorists, anti-state actors, such and such, but it was really an issue of government actors themselves
Well, I mean, that
projecting what
does
they
seem
could
kind
do
of
with Bitcoin.
accurate. They are terrorists and anti-state. They're against us. So,
Right.
I mean, it does seem accurate.
Yeah, and that's the thing about government. If you have a bad government, they can manipulate anything. I mean, because they control all the laws, they control the way you have to do things. So they're not going to do it overtly, even though they do. But I mean, they're going to try and be like, oh, we're not really involved, but they're actually involved, right? And they can do it because they've got a lot of money and they control the system. So I'm not sure we can get away from that unless we all just decided tomorrow, hey, well, let's all use Bitcoin. Let's not ever involve ourselves in any government activity. Do not go to any banks. Do not go to any exchanges. And we just trade it with each other. That would be a possibility. But then at that point, they would make it illegal.
Let me pose this question to the panel. If we moved away from Bitcoin to something like Monero or Pirate Chain, is that a better avenue towards financial freedom, or is it just a different trap?
It's
Well,
just
again-
a different trap, 100%. There's no such thing as a financial system that's not a rug pull, that does not include a finite material backing the system. And I don't care what it is. It just has to be something that's finite and that's either always desirable or always needed. I have people coming in and out, so I'm going to let you guys.
No problem.
Sure, I'd bring up the value for value model. Adam Curry and Podcasting 2.0, No Agenda, always talks about the value for value model. One of the ways to provide value would be, time, talent, treasure. That treasure could be fiat fund coupons. It could be United States currency. It could be Bitcoin. I suppose you could convert Monero to Bitcoin, or they'd probably take Monero. But here we have this issue of HODL, HODL, where people are disincentivized from spending their cryptocurrency because this is the store of value and the number goes up. So in creating a system where you could exchange digital value, but now you're disincentivized from doing so, means that those people who want to respect the privacy of donators to sensitive topics and fund things that are not popular in the public sphere at this point. I mean, that changes from president to president, from day to day, whatever. It's not me to decide what is the best appropriate speech. It's an individual right that we have to express that. So by offering a value to value support method to continue to fund a platform, say like Daily Stormer, Andrew Anglin, or someone who's been deplatformed from PayPal, or even if it's just truck drivers trying to cross a border in Canada or whatever, Hong Kong, whatever that means. There are people who are going to need to use privacy software that returns to Tor, and journalists using encryption and emails and things. So again, could it be done? Yes. Has it been done? Very little people are incentivized to use Monero to provide value.
Right, because it actually has a bad name already, right? So it's not very attractive to anybody but somebody who's a criminal or something like that. Now, it does have privacy, so more people might be attracted to it. But yeah, the problem is always going to be people being afraid. Like you said, is there any incentive to want to go in that direction? And the government's going to make sure it seems like there's not. So they could come out tomorrow and say, oh, all Monero is being used for sex trafficking. And immediately 90% of the owners would dump their Monero and get rid of it, because they would just be afraid that the government's going to come after them, or somebody would see them with it or using it and they would say, oh, you're part of that sex trafficking ring. So, I mean, this is the problem with government and propaganda. They can really destroy anything. And what can they have their hands off of? Now, Bitcoin has a way that it could have their hands off of it, but it would take a grassroots kind of thing from the ground up, and everybody would have to agree. And we know how it is. People are scam artists. People are there'll be somebody who tried to be in charge of something and say, I'll be in charge. Oh, you give me all your Bitcoin, and then they steal it. So it's just the nature of the world. I don't know where I'm really going with that, other than one thing that I forgot, something that Ben said. What was he talking about? Oh, so he was saying that. Oh, somebody said it was $700,000 that it was going to be worth at the end of this year or something. Again, that's why I just say if you could afford $10 a week, that might be something you might look into. But again, do you want to go to Coinbase and then have your name tied to that account? Well, that's up to you. Again, then they can track what you're doing. They will know how much you have, but it's also not illegal. So let's say you were putting $10 in a week, and at the end of 3 years, you've got a quarter Bitcoin, whatever it would be. Well, then if you cash that out or whatever, you didn't do anything illegal. So there's really nothing that really is, a problem there, other than they could then see that you took that money out, but it's not illegal. So there wouldn't be legal ramifications unless they called it legal.
Swiss bank accounts already exist.
Well, at that point, they're just trying to make sure they get their tax, because nobody
their money for nothing. You mean like when value goes up, they take money out of that, which is hilarious. That even happens. One thing I noticed long ago when I was on eBay is that they take taxes out of every transaction. So think about it, like a book that's sold on eBay may go for $10 and then somebody else sells it. You sell it for $10, I sell it for. So the government actually makes more money in the long run than the book is worth. No money more than $10 is ever exchanged, yet they've made $16 in taxes off it. It's a joke.
100%. That's you're not going to get a debate on that.
What we've kind of discovered here is that the government is the problem, and we knew that. We're at a point where we need to have been. Men were a lot more. They're not more tolerant now, and that's a problem, because in 1776, when these guys said "F this, we're out of here," things weren't as bad as they are now. They were way better. They got pissed because they were taxing without representation. Look what's going on with us. I mean, we're just having these guys invade our lives, and everyone just sits back like, no big deal.
It's crazy how in just a relatively in the scope of human history, we went from taxation is theft to taxation is how you maintain a society. And I can't really wrap my head around that. I'm still incapable of doing that.
Well, it's super interesting to me, the contrasts between the guy that really set that into stone for us, FDR, and Trump. And the way it just in if you go and research presidential where they order the shit, what the hell is it called?
Executive order.
Executive order. If you look at executive orders, the average is 200 to 300 executive orders, and that's for a very long time. Woodrow Wilson wrote a bit more than that. He hit like 900, I think it was. Everybody else 200 to 300, except for Roosevelt, who wrote 4,000 executive orders. 4,000. That guy was all about circumventing everything that we had ever laid down as a law and ever held dear. That dude circumvented it and promised those people an easy life and just sold us, the rest of us, down the river. And I see the exact same thing happening right now during this era, where I think it seems like a lot of current concessions that are making people very happy now are really gonna hurt later. And I don't see where this is any different, because I understand you would have been correct by advising people to had bought Bitcoin however many years ago, but in no way does that hold an innate value. Like it's not even an innate thing. If tomorrow, if they decide Bitcoin's gone, it's a rug pull, that shit's gone. You have no way to retrieve.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? If they decide it's gone, its value.
If they decide Bitcoin's gone, they just shut that whole shit down. It's gone.
That's not possible. So what do you mean by that? Bitcoin exists on everybody's computer that's part of the network, so they can't just shut it down. They would have to make it illegal and hope that people don't do it anymore.
If exchanges were not able to exchange Bitcoin for government issued currencies, then we'd have a huge
It's the only thing that drives the value.
Right. But let's say that tomorrow all the exchanges shut down. The value would immediately drop to probably half of what it is. But then people would work that
One
out.
Bitcoin will still be worth one Bitcoin. The exchange rate and the volatility, the movement is what people are hopeful for.
Sure.
And now they're tied to extended markets to financialize, tokenize, and monetize every aspect of life.
Right. They're
Be
basing
sold
it on the
open
fact that they
markets.
don't think that the internet and that will go away, because it's just internet traffic. It's not, they made sure to not code it separately. So the government can never come in and say, all right, shut down all Bitcoin transactions. That's impossible, because a Bitcoin transaction is no different than any other internet traffic. It's identical. So it's just a movement of text files. So they can't shut it down. But as far as I get what you're saying, as far as if they really wanted it gone, the reason that they can't really just do that is because it would immediately cause businesses to go to other countries. It would cause the United States to lose a ton of innovation companies. Think of how many Bitcoin or let's say crypto companies there are. Otherwise, they would have already shut it down. Like it's not helpful to them. So
Let's talk about
Like,
innovation.
how is that any different than the 2000, the coders from 2000? There's an entire job where they literally did nothing, except for if you're old like us, you don't even know what the fuck that Office Space movie was even about, because the whole 2000 scare doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Or
And
the point where they're
there was
rounding
a
up to
giant
steal money.
industry where hamster wheels got spun, nothing got produced, nothing happened, bunch of money exchanged hands. That's all this is. It's just, and tomorrow, if Bitcoin, if the government pulls the rug on the money exchangers, makes that worse. Yes, I do agree that at some degree, that when people can't exchange it, they will start trading it, and at first people will be like, well, fuck yeah, I'll take some Bitcoin. But as they're not able to exchange it, the devaluation of it is not gonna hit a plateau. It's gonna continue to drop, because as more and more people are gonna lose interest in the value of it. And as Marcus said, a good portion of the value is that people believe that it's gonna go up, so they buy it. So this brings the buy pressure that you talked about. It be believing that the value is going to increase. If everybody believes the value is going to decrease, what happens?
Well,
everybody, we know that the value decreases of the dollar. Do you see
that's
people
built
not working
into
for
it.
the dollar?
That's the expectation, is that Bitcoin will go down and then it'll go back up again. So people can buy and sell on the movement. There's an all-time high and then there's a new all-time high, but then it's going to go down. It's like the roller coaster. People love that in the charts. They predict when it's going to be a bull market, when it's going to be a bear market, when the altcoin season is going to come upon us, and then we're going to get better returns on the penny stock equivalents of whatever new coins come out that year. So that's built into the expectation in the market that it will go down. And there will be people who come into a hard situation where they have to sell at a loss, and that's going to benefit somebody else. That's built into the market and to the expectation.
It's a zero sum. There's always somebody losing. If you're making money, somebody lost. Just the way it goes. But I think go ahead.
How does that operate different than the stock market, except for the stock market? It's based on the stability of a business. Now, I realize the rich have shown that they can destabilize businesses at a whim, but the general idea was the stability of a business in and of itself is what's backing the stock. And so you're talking about the same basic function, but again, nothing to back this in any way, shape, or form, except for
you're backing the idea, the community, the network. Right. So, for instance, if you don't have faith in the United States government, you don't have faith in the dollar, then you would say, well, I have faith in Bitcoin, which is just simply a collection of nodes, is a collection of networks across, or not one network, but across the world, to where you know that no government can actually do any damage to it. Because if the United States government came out and said it's illegal, other countries didn't say that. And in fact, it would then give them incentive to promote Bitcoin, to get businesses to come to their country. If the United States can't make it illegal, they won't.
Are we going to talk about El Salvador now?
What do they? Because they have the new coin that's their state coin, or you mean because they took Bitcoin?
That's the whole complicated issue of El Salvador becoming the first country to declare Bitcoin legal tender in their country,
Right.
and to attract Bitcoin talent, to build a Bitcoin city, all of these things surrounding Bukele and what he promised to do. And then due to some complications, International Monetary Fund comes in needing to offer a loan and says, well, we can offer you a loan, but you have to change your legal tender and not include Bitcoin as a legal tender anymore to offer this
And when they
loan.
did that, oh, I didn't know that ever happened. Wow.
Right.
Didn't even
So to see how big Bitcoin can grow, the use in governments and lending, and then with the FTX showing us how Balderson's concern is that it's not like a stock market. There's not a company behind it. There's not human capital and blood, sweat, and tears building a factory and then making a product, an intellectual product, and selling something like a vehicle that everyone's going to drive around and benefit humanity. We have a market where people are bringing in this money that's printed. It's just printed and printed and printed and printed and printed. So they take that money that's printed money, cash money, United States dollar, and then they exchange that at an exchange to then send it to an FTX,
correct.
which is an exchange, which somehow, and I don't understand the math or the routing of the money, but it ended up going towards the Democratic Party to fund their
because you
campaign.
can float it, right? Since it's nothing, you can float it. You can float Bitcoin. I can take Bitcoin from you guys and say, give me each a Bitcoin, I'll hold it for you, and you guys
Sure.
give it to me, and then I go lend it out and I make interest off of it and I make money off of it. And then when you come back, I give you your Bitcoin back, or you find out that I have none of it, like FTX.
Unless you run afoul of the federal government.
Right.
Right. And then they yank everybody's Bitcoin.
Right. And then
they put it into their wallet. Correct. And they just hang on to it. So
here's my question, though, to you guys, is that the alternative, if you have two choices, one would be involve yourself as little as possible or as much as you can, because you know that these governments, the reason they're going after it, the reason that they're collecting it is because they know the value will go up. The reason why these big companies, BlackRock and those things are getting involved is because they see that the code isn't going anywhere. It's not going to be hacked by any supercomputer. It would have already been done. So they are now getting involved. So that tells me, do I want to stay away from that and get out? Well, if I do that, then I don't have a lot of ways to grow my current money. My wife and I have decided that rather than go on a vacation every year for, $5,000, it behooves us to put that 5,000 into Bitcoin. And in 20 years, we'll see where it lands us. If the government comes in and shuts down Bitcoin and we make nothing, and at the end of 20 years, it's worth zero, well, we tried. Whereas if we don't do that and we just say, let's go on a vacation every year and let's just hang back, but Bitcoin in 20 years is worth 1.3 million, then we're going to be pretty upset that we chose not to get involved. So I try and teach people, like you said, don't trade, because the algorithms and the bots are meant to destroy you. You'll never make money that way. And I believe in delayed gratification and not, and I've been through both things. Just, I've had both things happen. I had 50 Bitcoin in 2014 when it was worth about 400. And we just lived off it while I started YouTube and did videos worth no money. And basically it went up to 600 and we sold a little, and it went up to 1,000 and we sold a few, and it went up to 1,500 and we sold a bunch. And I think I sold my last one at around 1,700. Now, so today I can look at that and say, oh shit, that's worth $5 million. Right. But I also realized we would have never got there because we would have sold it all along the way, no matter what. But then I told my wife, hey, we got to stop thinking like we're poor. We need to think like we're rich. So the next coin that came along was Pirate Chain. And I bought a bunch at like 8 cents for them. And then boom, before you know it, it goes up to $16. So we had $120,000 worth of Pirate Chain. So my wife says, can we take it out? Can we take it out? Can we buy a car? I'm like, nope, that's thinking like we're poor. We gotta just hold on to it and see what happens. And then within a couple of weeks, it was down to, $3, then $2, and now it's worth about 20 cents.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
Absolutely zero.
To go back to the great American philosopher and Texas rancher, Texas Slim, it's a tool in your bag.
Yes.
Go to work every day. You don't show up with just a fucking hammer in
Correct.
your bags. When you need it, you whip it out and you use it.
Correct.
If you don't do it that way, it's always going to cost you money.
Correct.
Always.
If you think you're going to get rich off of it, a lot of these people, they'll see a coin worth 0.00004 and they're like, oh wow, if the decimal point just moves 3 places, my $100 is worth $1 million, or my $100 is worth 100,000, and the chances of that happening are literally zero.
We've all heard Sam Tripoli go on about that with the Dogecoin.
Yeah,
We
and it's
are.
just and then people think there's good money to be made in new coins that come out, but really those are all just rug pulls. And the fact that you give yourself and your buddies a bunch of coins.
You mean Haktua wasn't serious?
No, you didn't buy any, did you? Oh, good.
No, I don't. What the fuck? The only coins I've ever gotten are Rockfin coins.
Ray tokens, yeah. And now those, hopefully you didn't hold on to those.
Yeah, I didn't hold on to those either. So here's where I stand, and this is where
this is the problem, right? It's always going to be a problem because government is in our lives constantly, and they don't want you to have money. They don't want you to be rich. They don't want you to have an advantage. So any advantage that comes along, and this is one that I think is one, or could have been one. But again, we would imagine like we destroy the government. Let's just pretend we take over the government tomorrow. It's us three. We are the new heads of the government. In that case, Bitcoin is all of a sudden a lot more attractive. We don't have to issue any money from the state. People have money that are out there. The exchanges or the miners are working. They're creating new coins. It's got a maximum, so the value will go up. It becomes a pretty good instrument. However, when you have a corrupt government, that's the problem, right? It's just like driverless cars. People have a problem with driverless cars. Of course, I'm not going to get into a driverless car and let you guys drive me off of a cliff. However, if us three are in charge of the government, there's a big difference. Now, all of a sudden, driverless cars are actually helpful to you because there's no accidents, there's no drunk driving, there's no road rage, there's no falling asleep at the wheel. All of a sudden, things are much better, but nobody gets driven off any cliffs. So that's when you have a bad government, shit sucks.
Well, government does occur within Bitcoin. There's Bitcoin governance in deciding the size of the block. And with Ethereum kind of doing its own thing, there was a time when there was this idea that code is law and the ledger is immutable, we'll never change it, except for this one time where we have a test, the biggest test ever of a decentralized, the DAO, what was it called, the decentralized autonomous smart contract thing, where people were going to put their money, lock it away into this contract, and it was going to do something maybe, but then somehow that money got stolen, and then the people of Ethereum, the miners, they voted by choosing which block fork path to take to reverse those transactions and undo the mistake or scam or whatever played out. And they decided to go back, give everybody their money just this one time. We learned a lesson. Let's do that. So that was the example of the blockchain being this immutable, unchangeable, forever ledger. But because of the governance in this instance, it's kind of frustrating, but it saved a lot of people. They learned a lesson, and they had a little grace period. Now that'll probably never happen again. So the people that were in this early on have been following it, studying it. They probably have that first mover advantage. They have the knowledge of it. And you're telling us that you have some experience with this, and you offer consultations, and you can help get people up to speed real quick.
Well, I mean, yeah, I do it very simply because I don't want to complicate it. It gets very complicated, right? But if you're just talking about somebody, I think somebody said earlier that Swiss bank accounts exist.
Yeah.
Right. So there's ways that you can download a wallet on your computer, like an Exodus wallet. You can load it with, let's say, Monero, and then you can delete it from your computer. And the only existence in the entire world is a set of 12 numbers that you keep on you. If you ever lose that, you lost
like a phrase, a bunch of random words that you just memorize.
Correct. I would never recommend that. I think you can, turn them into numbers and make a fake phone number list or something. There's ways to, you don't want to ever type them into a computer. You want to write them down. But anyway, there's ways that you could then have. And then the great thing about that is if, the government comes after me, I can't get my money out of the bank. They're not going to let me cross border. But if I do that with this 12-word phrase in my mind, they can, of course, never get that from me, right? Now, again, I have to go to another country where there's an internet service and I need to be able to get on and put my code in, and then I need to get that coin to cash. So there's still steps that you have to take. But like whoever said, it's just another tool. That's the way I look at it. And I think you should never overindulge in any financial instrument because you need to have enough money to take care of your family. You want to always have cash on hand. Hopefully everybody's got a little bit of cash on hand. So that's kind of the way that I would go about it. But I would never recommend trading coins or thinking you're going to get rich or, trying to rug pull people or get involved in that. And I saw that happen. We saw that happen with Jeff Berwick, who's the dollar vigilante. seems that he has run a couple of these rug pulls where you promote it real big, you get on your channel and you talk about it a lot, and people all buy into it. And then when they've all bought into it, little do they know that you've had a stash since it was worth nothing, and then you cash all yours out and then cause theirs to be worth nothing. So it happens all the time.
The pump and dump with a star with a public face.
Yep.
So here's my biggest issue. Even if I had went with stocks, which is quite a bit safer than Bitcoin, again, the stocks originally being tied with business, and I'm a shrewd guy who's not trying to make a bunch of money all at once and doing, like you say, with the good sound long-term investment. My good sound long-term investment would have been something like Sears. Sears would have been a fantastic company when I was a child. This was a name in every single household.
Alcoa as well.
If you wanted, there's a whole lot of very large businesses that either produced something that was extremely needed for the time, or they were just a name store that was everywhere, like Sears. And now your Sears stock ain't worth jack shit. And that was actually backed by a store that actually provided something. Now, if I take and I compare that to something like land or a precious metal, with the exception on land of watching out for inflation bubbles and being an idiot that steps into that kind of thing, as long as you're not doing that, step by step, if I would have owned, and you've already even mentioned this yourself as something that wealthy people do, if I would have invested land at the time into land rather than into Bitcoin or stocks, then basically guaranteed I was that land in 50 years is worth a shit ton more than what it is today. Like,
of course, all land.
We did, like, Brian just bought some land down below land here because the green rush is over. The green rush made a housing bubble, made a land price bubble.
Yeah,
because a bunch of people went around and sold land on the idea that, hey, you can grow some pot here and get richer than hell. And so that uppriced the land like you wouldn't believe. Well, now they came in, trashed the land, left all kinds of bills and trashed land. So now that land's completely devalued. And somewhere in the middle, you're going to find the actual land value. Now, in 50 years, that land value, and I would say a 10-acre plot up here is probably in reality worth, with the house on it, 150 grand.
Maybe.
And you can get them for way cheaper than that.
I've seen those houses.
Yeah. And in 50 years, that whatever the money, even if the dollar crashes, I can turn around and it doesn't matter if it's a fucking a camel buck that turns into the new monetary system. My land is going to be worth a lot of fucking camel bucks, whatever that is. If I have gold or another precious metal, no matter what, I could have taken a bar of gold and bought a house in the city 50 years ago. I could take a bar of gold and buy a house in the city today. In 50 years, I could take a bar of gold and go buy a fucking house in the city.
Okay, let's look at 10 years, right? So 10 years ago, if you would have spent $20,000 on Bitcoin, you would have gotten 86 Bitcoin worth $8.6 million today off of a $20,000 investment. So it's not right to say that stocks are better or there's some other, or even land is better.
At one point in time at one point in time, the Sears stock was worth nothing. And at one point in time, that Sears stock was a blue chip stock. Bro.
Yeah, Apple stock, all that kind of
stock.
shit. And quickly, let me say this about Berwick, because if you don't know that he's a pirate, that's your fucking fault. And if you get on board with a pirate, some pirate shit is gonna happen. Sometimes it might work out for you. Sometimes it's going to work out way bad for you. but high diddly D, because that man like makes no bones about the fact that he's a fucking pirate. Like he's upfront about that shit all day, every day. And he throws a hell of a party. He really does. Like people have problems with Berwick because they don't understand
No, I'm not muted.
high piracy, and that's lack of education. And I'm sorry if you got caught up in that kind of shit. I never did, I never would, but one of my best friends is the MC of Anarchapulco right now, and everybody knows what they're getting into.
Right.
Everybody does, going into it, you know, full knowledge, face forward. If you're gonna go do pirate shit, you better be prepared to pay pirate consequences. Yeah, can we all agree on that?
Oh, damn straight.
For
You
sure.
know I'm down.
Yeah, I mean, I just I think that it's, if you're talking about what was safer, yeah, obviously stocks are safer. But I just looked it up. 2007, Apple was $5, and today it's 243. So that's nothing compared to
that gets to the psychological pressure of looking back in your life and seeing regrets and saying, I should have done this, I should have done that, which applies to everything in life. The concern moving forward now is,
stocks divide and pay dividends and all that, right?
That's true. Yes. I think that, right. You can look back and say this period of time that Bitcoin went up this crazy amount. Now, will it ever go up that much again? Never. Right. It's not going from 100,000. It's not going to become 10 billion. So there's not going to be the same return anymore. But, you know, like I said, I would dabble in it a little bit if you were interested and thought that the price was going to continue to go up. If it doesn't get hacked and doesn't turn illegal and the government wants it, I think it will continue to go up. But I don't think, like, you know, would ever be worth $1 million? Not anytime soon, in my opinion. So that's only a 10-to-1 return. You have better chances on many things than Bitcoin. You know,
and that might actually be, you know, returning to microtransactions and using it as digital cash if things were to stabilize within the tokenized cryptocurrency economy. If that were to stabilize in some way with a stable coin or something to the effect where we could have a true alternative to PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, or whatever the banks have, then that would be real great. Now, realistically, over the years, seeing how this plays out, the PayPal guys they're not going to allow an open source competition to take that over
or something.
The PayPal guys are the government now. You guys realize that, right? David Sachs, Joe Lonsdale, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, they're the fucking government right
now.
now.
Owned by Bitcoin. I mean, owned by PayPal. PayPal's owned by eBay, right? They're the same company now.
Correct.
And Venmo and a bunch of other processors and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. When they did that whole, we can charge you can't do transactions over $600 or $800 and then PayPal at the same exact time decided that if it literally implemented social credit score, where if you said and did shit that they didn't like, they could just take your money and just keep it.
Yeah. They just kept it for 6 months and said, you're off PayPal activity. It's like, what does that mean?
They all kind of combine.
And people have had bank accounts closed early on for using their bank account to buy Bitcoin, just for being involved with Bitcoin. And now there might be some recourse for people who have been affected by that, maybe. But again, it's like,
I don't think there's any recourse if you mean, would you get your account back? I doubt it.
Well, in terms of executive orders or some legal sort of class action lawsuits or something that would allow it to go to court and be tried to see. It's like, well, again, that's the hindsight thing. Where in the past, people kind of knew what they wanted to do with the tool. They used the tool to move where they needed to go. It was a vehicle to achieve a goal, and with the FTX, the Democratic Party, the funding thing, and we know that, economic hitman story, color revolutions, funding things. This is a tool now used by everyone, everywhere. Bitcoin is not going away. It's not going to just be deleted from the internet.
No.
And now it's a question of moving forward as an individual. This is something that individuals have to research themselves. They have to be realistic in terms of what it is, what its history is, and where it might go. And then there are other pools to play in. There's other sandboxes to dig in terms of cryptocurrencies. You mentioned Monero and other privacy coins, other utility coins, minting, Ray token as a way to payroll, that's an option. So there is still opportunity for further technological development of what the software can do. The best has not been built yet.
Sure. Yeah, in fact, that's why if I would have known where we'd be today, and I would have put a bunch of money into it at the beginning, right? Of course, you never anticipate all the things that have come out of, like, wallets were a pain in the ass in 2010, 2011. They were clunky. They were very
They still are. They still are for some blockchains.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To run your own node, to be truly anonymous, and to try and achieve optimal OPSEC and be the best you can be on the blockchain. There was also times when you were, as a holder of a certain coin, incentivized for staking it, meaning putting it into a pool, staking it down to the ground and not moving it.
Right.
As a show of confidence, and then to be able to proof of stake,
Right.
which is different from proof of work, where you'd maybe get some dividends for having a large
The problem with
value
that is,
locked
of course, your money is in somebody else's hands, right? So anytime that happens, the FTX can happen, the
Mhm.
Mt. Gox can happen, where they
Well,
just
not your key. What's that phrase? Not your keys, not your coins.
Correct, right. So I advocate for people to own all their crypto and to get it off of exchanges, because another thing that Coinbase does is, let's say I buy a Bitcoin and I leave it on Coinbase, and then the value goes up double, and then I take it off. Well, as soon as I did that, that creates a taxable capital gains. They immediately tell the IRS, hey, this guy just made $50,000 in capital gains, and then
Every
IRS
government is made aware of the transaction in the blockchain. That's a feature of the blockchain being a public ledger.
Correct. But if let's say even if you buy it on Coinbase and you buy
Mhm.
it for $50,000 and then you immediately pull it off to your own wallet, that's not a taxable event. So there's no reporting of that, because you bought it for 50,000, you pulled it off, and it's 50,000. But
And this stuff
eventually,
changes. This changes.
it
The
does change time to time.
legislations, the rules, the terms of service change over time. I mean, there are services that I love and I use, and then I get a report, an email saying, well, we can no longer operate the way we have been in the past. So we're just shutting down.
It's what's her name? Elizabeth Warren. Get rid of her. She's not any good news for. No. And then the greatest thing is to only invest ever what you are willing to lose. That's just the way you got to look at it. It is gambling, whether you like it or not. And it's not short-term gambling. It's
Eric Voorhees, early Bitcoin guy, developed Satoshi Dice, which was a Bitcoin gambling site, and then sold it off to some other company. So gambling was, from day one of the utilities of Bitcoin.
It still is. There's a ton of sites out there that, because again, then they can circumvent the laws about IDing people. You can just be a Bitcoin casino and nobody's even, keeping track of you or legislating you. And again, it's hard for me to say that, because I do believe I'm not one of these people that say we can do without any government. I recognize you're going to have something, for instance, for age of consent, things like that. Like, you can't just say there's no government, no laws, because there are dirtballs out there that will groom little girls. And so you have to have age of consent laws. You have to have things like, well, who puts those into place? Well, it's got to be a group of guys, and the guys are going to be called your government. So I get that, but I do think our government now is atrocious. And I read a book, Percy Blythe Shelley wrote a book, and he's talking in the late 1800s about, hey, what's going to happen is, right now we're giving 1 penny for every dollar to the government for taxes. He says what's going to happen in 10, 20 years is they're going to start saying, hey, we need 2 pennies, we need 3 pennies. And when you say no more, they're going to then attack you through false flags, basically saying, oh, we got attacked by this other country because you don't give us enough money for war or for defense. So and then everybody is going to say, oh shit, we don't want to be attacked again. Here's more money and more money. And look where we're at today. The percentage that we are now giving in taxes is insane. And if we ever stopped and didn't refuse, they would just attack us and say, look what happened now. We lost the whole state of California because you guys wouldn't give us more tax money. So it's
it's interesting that you bring that up. Carl Sagan talked about this 40 years ago. Man, I'd like to play this. It's only like a minute and a half.
There's two kinds of dangers. One is what I just talked about, that we've arranged a society based on science and technology, in which nobody understands anything about science and technology. And this combustible mixture of ignorance and power, sooner or later, is going to blow up in our faces. I mean, who is running the science and technology in a democracy if the people don't know anything about it? And the second reason that I'm worried about this is that science is more than a body of knowledge. It's a way of thinking, a way of skeptically interrogating the universe with a fine understanding of human fallibility. If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is true, to be skeptical of those in authority, then we're up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious, who comes ambling along. It's a thing that Jefferson laid great stress on. It wasn't enough, he said, to enshrine some rights in a constitution or a Bill of Rights. The people had to be educated, and they had to practice their skepticism and their education. Otherwise, we don't run the government. The government runs us.
We're well past that.
We're well past that. We're so far removed from basic skepticism and basic mistrust of institutions that we're willing to run with. Okay, we'll have Larry Fink and BlackRock and Tether and Sam Bankman-Fried and everybody connected to that running our crypto sphere. And that is what concerns me, like, at the base level.
Yeah, me too. I think, government is a problem. They're way too big. I believe that the government should be in the states, and even less than that, your city, your county. When you have too big a government like that, just think of the fraud, the money that goes. People don't know the strength in numbers. Just today, in fact, I'm right here, my electric bill, I was just looking through my electric bill and I saw the 60-cent state surcharge. And I was like, okay, 50 cents for the state, 60 cents, for the state. And then I asked my wife, how many people live in California? She's like, I don't know, I think 40 million. So I'm like, 40 million. I'm like, shit. So they're making 20 million a month on just people's electric bill. We don't even notice it because 50 cents, who gives a shit, right? But it's 20 million a month. That's $240 million a year that they're making just taxing the electric bill. That doesn't count sales tax. That doesn't count everything else. And so they are just cleaning up on money. And then what do they do with it? They give it to people with EBT cards and people who are on assistance, because when you do that, it just means that you need more government, right? Because those people can't go back to work. Why would they? They get free money from the government. So that just incentivizes them to not work and just sit at home and continue to mooch off the government. So the whole
Are there
thing
some Walmart employees who are on EBT because Walmart knows that they can pay them a certain amount, and then
Absolutely.
EBT is covered by the rest of it?
I was the store manager for Long's Drugs, then became CVS store manager, and I got out because I saw what they were doing. Once they became a corporation, CVS is the biggest drugstore in the country. They told me things like, if anybody makes over this amount of money, fire them. If they work this many hours, take them back below 32 so that they can't get full time, so we don't have to pay them benefits. And it was such a night and day thing. Long's Drugs was a family run drugstore where they told me when I became store manager, run the store like it's your own, buy whatever you want, sell whatever you want, treat the customers good. If you do good for us, we'll pay you well. If you do bad, we're going to fire you. That's the way it goes. And it was like fantastic. I loved the job. And then when it became CVS, they're like, when I was running the store in Monterey, California, they sent a pallet of snow shovels and salt, things like that. Well, I didn't put it up. I'm like, what the hell did we get this for? My DM comes in. He's like, where's the snow front end? I'm like, why would I put that up for Monterey, California? He's like, oh no, it's mandatory. We have a deal with this company. If we don't get it up, then I'm like, you're going to make me put up. We're in Monterey, California. It hasn't snowed here in who knows if it ever has. And no, that's why I got out and why I quit my job, because I saw what corporations were doing, and they've done it. And you're right. Walmart's a joke. They pay.
You're in Monterey?
No, that's where I was. I was a store manager there in Salinas. Yeah.
Okay. Where are you now? Are you still in California?
Yeah, I'm over in the Valley, Merced.
Okay. Come to Ryan Long's comedy show March 23rd.
Where's that at?
Fucking San Jose.
Okay. Ryan Long?
Yeah, I'm in Marin.
Oh, I know who that guy is.
Yeah, I'm in Marin. My kids live in Gold Country. I'm back and forth quite a bit.
Where'd you grow up?
I would love to buy you lunch and hang out for a little bit, man. I really would.
Where did you grow up, in the Bay Area?
I grew up in Indiana.
Oh, okay.
I've been out here for like 25 years.
Okay. I went to school in San Jose, and so
he lived in Santa Cruz when I met him. The Santa Cruz Mountains, anyways.
I lived in the Santa Cruz Mountains for 15 years.
Oh, great!
I was a carpenter there in Boulder Creek.
Okay, yeah, I know Boulder Creek well. Yeah, I went to Bellarmine, the high school in San Jose.
Oh, hell yeah, dude! My ex went to high school in Los Gatos.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Good old days back then, but yeah, things have changed a lot, and yeah, corporations taking over everything's a problem, and big government's a problem, and they're just robbing us left and right. And then
I'm gonna drop my phone number in the private chat.
Please
shoot me a text, dude. Okay. Let's go kick it.
How much do you think of the problems that have happened are due to them putting atrazine in all the water? Obviously,
the feminization of men.
Exactly.
Dude, let me tell you, one of my good friends currently is Jay Sanders from Fluoride Action Network, and he's been sticking his neck out for 15 years trying to talk about this shit, and they just won a couple of major lawsuits and court cases and stuff like that. The feminization of men has been a deliberate operation.
Yeah, I think it's all the gays, the trans, all that stuff. I think is a direct result of it, and yeah, and then the whole feminization, or the whole what is it called when the women, the feminine movement, what is it called? They're feminists, whatever. That whole thing has been a result of men not being men, and then they try to be like, oh, we'll be in charge, and that's just all been disaster, right? It's like, instead of being,
in my experience, lesbians are only a lesbian until a real strong man comes around.
That's what they said in Chasing Amy.
If there's no more good men left, they just like, well, I guess I'll love this woman,
right?
Well, that's the way women are. They go for whoever is strongest and most dominant. If that's a woman, that's who that is.
So is that the original marketplace, the sexual marketplace?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't. Yeah, definitely. But
isn't that what they say? It's the oldest profession, right?
Absolutely. And for it, like, that makes a lot of sense. You can
obviously farmer would have to be up there, and soldier. Like, so I'd have to say it has to be. I don't know where.
And how do you get more farmers? And how do you get more soldiers?
Like a farmer, somebody had to pay that hooker. That dude had to have a job.
The sexual marketplace to procreate and have more kids.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty insane what's going on, and that people just allow it and ignore it.
We've gotten so far away from fundamentals of what it means to be a man.
Absolutely.
And what value is, and owning land and growing our own food and knowing what all this stuff does, to this point of financial markets where we're trading ideas back and forth. We're sharing memes back and forth, and it becomes a coin, and now there's a value attached to that. Now, whether or not that's good or bad, I mean, some people can make money off of it. Is there
going to be a Jaren coin soon? I've seen a lot of memes of him recently.
No, I won't do that. I promise you. No, I don't want to do that. There is a dome coin. I think Dave Weiss is trying to shill with that. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just a problem all over the place. You're right. Men have gotten away from that. Women want that at home, right? So women throughout history have wanted security. And they want a man that's going to take care of them financially, that's going to allow them to raise children, that's going to protect them. And if you get away from that, then yeah, women are very confused as to what they want, and they end up dating just any old random guy. And then guys have no incentive to be better. It's a whole thing, but it's definitely from the top down. The government definitely has done this. I think porn is a huge problem, bigger than people even have any idea of what.
Yes, sir.
What it does to men and women, but it's a problem that would have never been dealt with in the past. It wouldn't have had to been dealt with, and it's turned many men into cucks. And the reason for that is because what you do is you sit in front of the computer and you train yourself to get off on other men fucking women. So that's what a cuck is. You've just trained yourself to become a cuck. So then you're with a woman and you're like, this doesn't really turn me on because I get turned on by other men with women. So it's just a complete, and it doesn't seem like that. And you feel like you're, as a kid, when you're like, oh, masturbation is great. And you want to, it's like practicing. Well, no, it's not like practicing. It's the opposite of that. It's you're practicing sex with yourself, learning to come with with your own hand in 5 minutes. How can that ever be a good thing?
So I was
yeah,
just having a conversation with my buddy Scott Armstrong from Rebunk News. Shout out to that guy. And I showed him a picture of the guitar that my girl got me, and he was like, "Holy fuck, that's sexy!" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude." Also a part of this like mandolin maker, marketplace, and I told my girl the other day, like, this is the closest I'm ever gonna get to porn. Is looking at homemade mandolins and shit like that people put out there. And he was like, dude, mine's all fucking boxer dogs and fucking Stratocasters. Like that's our concept of porn right now, is fucking all the shit. And I really think that if people viewed it in that way, we'd be in a lot better spot at this point. We would be. I love carpenter porn, dude. Show me fucking five stacked wainscoting. Show me
what Steve's talking about, though, is an actual man with an agenda, a man with purpose, a man that has direction. And the thing is we've put the cart behind the horse. We want the pussy and we chase that. And the thing is you going and being a man with direction and drive and an agenda was very attractive. That's what draws the women to you. Right, they just come running to you. These dumb fuckers are chasing it because they got no agenda. The whole agenda is the tail. And that's a damn problem. They're all stuck in their root mind, something bigger than shit.
No, you should be building a life for the woman that you want to have in your life.
Right. And that's the problem with having
chasing after fucking tail or imaginary tail or internet tail or any of that shit, dude. That's only going to fucking drain you and make you less of a man.
Absolutely. And then promiscuous women that sleep with those men are not doing anybody any good, because women have the power to be like, no, your life sucks, get your life together, and then you can date me. They have the power to do that. They just, they want to get theirs as well. So they get theirs. And then the guys don't feel like they ever need to actually become anything to get women. And then you got this whole terrible circle of events that just happens. But there's still, all women want that, like you said, Ben, they want that strong man. I was talking to somebody, I think it was Austin Witsit, was saying something about changing diapers and said something to me about changing my son's diaper. And I said, oh, I've changed 5. And he's like, what do you mean? So I've changed 5 diapers. He's like, what? But your baby's like 3 years old. I said, yeah, my wife changes diapers. He's like, well, how did you work that out? I'm like, that's just where we have a very strict roles. She also hasn't taken out the trash. She also hasn't cleaned the fucking garage. She also hasn't fixed anything in the house. It's a deal that we have. She takes care of the kids. I take care of the money. And it's like, that's what they want. I've never heard my wife complain ever about that. She never said, oh, I've changed all these diapers. No, she doesn't have to work. She sits at home. And I don't mean she sits at home. She does all the work. She does my laundry. She cooks, cleans. And that's what and I think if everybody realized that is still there and available, that they would realize how great that works, how good it is for the family, how good it is for the children to be raised in a house like that. But I don't see it anymore.
Anyway, there was a time when government policy allowed for that. That was the whole baby boomer generation. Was that after, World War II, soldiers come back, and America's policy from the top down, from the White House down, was buy houses, build a family, put that white picket fence up, have the American dream.
Well, at that point in time, that the owning your own home and land was the gold standard of investment. 80% of America at that point in time, 80% of those people, that was where their wealth was in the home. It wasn't in external things. It was in something you gave 2 fucks about that was part of your life.
It was based on what you could produce, not what you invested in.
Good point. Yep.
In our conversation tonight about value and the value of Bitcoin and the recent revelations of USAID and how money has been used.
I was in the army. There was 0 shocking events. I was in the fucking army. Like we were paying,
I
we
was
were
on the
paying
front
50
lines
and
of the drug
$70 for a roll of toilet paper back in the 90s. Get the fuck out of here. I already knew about waste.
But were you aware that CIA decided what modern art was going to be? Were you aware of the funding from the intelligence companies to change the values of families, to value mixed families, intermarriage, changing colors of people in schools to say whites and blacks have to go together? And that's the government all along has meddled in the affairs of normal people who just want to live and get along. And they've used money, they've used funds that they have printed to further those goals. And those goals have changed over time from something that has brought happiness and wealth and abundance to now in 2025, where we're starting to wonder, well, how have we gotten here? And in this age of revealing, this revelation of the method, this apocalypse, this unveiling of how we got here, that itself is being used as a tool. It's being weaponized to create motion and change in government situations that benefit certain people already in power. Yes, but again, returning to first principles and value in what a man can bring home, being the primary breadwinner, so his wife can stay home and raise the children. At some point, the government of America made that a primary goal. Are there other governments of the world that are saying family is great, have children, reproduce? Probably. Is America one of them? Not at the moment. Could that change? Yes. Is that going to be from the top down, saying we need to decide what we're going to do with our lives?
Are there any countries besides Israel saying that?
Yeah, you nailed it. The problem is that they purposely don't want that to happen. So they've made it so that a one income family struggles, so that you can't do that. And there's going to be financial issues, and you're going to have to send your wife to work, and you're going to have to send your kids to daycare. That's all by design. Because if you had people at home doing what they're doing, then you have men building things that are great for people. You have people taking advantage of those great things. You have a society that's flourishing. If you interject yourself into their lives, then people can't flourish. And that's where we're at now. People can't even flourish if they wanted to on purpose, because that makes more government necessary, right? Or at least that's just like we were smart enough not to take the pokey poke, because we knew that what the medical industry would never give you something to make you well. It doesn't make any sense. It puts themselves out of business. Well, government's the same thing. If the government did their job and did well, then eventually we wouldn't need government. They would just be, oh, we're doing fine on our own. Everybody's happy. So they have to make sure they're always needed. So what do? They bring up racism stuff, keep blacks against whites, constantly try and create division. Left, and now I even see the globe Earth versus the flat Earth. It's almost the same thing. It's just more fighting between people that ultimately is just meant to keep people
it's
together.
Germ and terrain.
Yeah,
Jaren, it is. I had Dr. Will Trebbing on my show a couple of years back, who wrote Goodbye Germ Theory. And when he came on, like, one of the first things out of his mouth was, I see this whole framing as deliberately divisive in order to separate people. And in all likelihood, it's somewhere in the middle. Right. In all likelihood, there are multiple different factors that, exist that create these conditions. I've always been a cosmic egg dude, so it's a different conversation for me as far as that goes. But
well, you're right about people who put their feet down and dig in. Once you do that, you're just conditioning yourself to not look at any other evidence. You are against whoever's coming at you. So people have lost the ability to be in the middle and to actually rationally listen to both sides and make a decision based on that, because they've already chosen and they've already dug their feet in. So then it's just like, the people who have no, germ theory is 100% right. So they're not even listening to the new theory. They're just, their feet are dug in. They're going to fight it tooth and nail.
Was
that's
the
a huge
idea
problem.
of a germ used to shut down the economy for a few months at some
Yep.
point in the last 4 years?
Certainly, but if all you've done is dig a trench and get in it, you're never gonna be able to climb and see
Right.
anything
And
else.
the whole thing is just like when I became a new pagan or heathen and Odinist, I noticed that the biggest problem was the people that would they were anti-church. So you're still not living your own life. Like you're anti-church. The church is still actually controlling you. And I see this so much in the counterculture of the truth community and whatnot. So they are still controlling what you think. Look at just recently with the whole plane thing. All of a sudden people are screaming about, oh my God, I can't believe there's this many plane crashes. Well, did you bother even looking up on the Googles how many plane crashes historically there are? Because there's almost 100 a month every month. Right. It's just in the United States. Like it's a pretty common thing. Like a few years ago, it was trains. 3 trains a day derail in the United States on average. 3. I was in a train derailment myself. And
I was in one.
Yeah. Like it happens. The train killed somebody. You know what? When they killed somebody, they acted like hardly nothing happened because it happens to them constantly.
Yeah, I don't even think ours made the news. We hit a car carrier and just destroyed it, went off the track. We all got rides home through what do you call it? Hitchhiking to the next stop. And that was back in 94, I guess. But yeah, it's crazy because it didn't even make the news.
Yeah, they didn't. Nobody cared about ours either. We ran through a semi. They hauled the dead guy off to the side. We had to sit there for like 6 hours on a train with no power because it wiped out the computer because the semi went under the train.
Did it get stuck going over the?
Yeah, it got stuck on top of the semi. Yeah. And so then we had to spend the night in LA and then and this is actually on the way to Flatoberfest. And then the train that we were waiting to come get us, that killed some dude. And then we're like, holy fuck, quit killing people. Like, are you kidding me? But this is just people being completely unaware. And it's very much the zoner effect where you use the truth to that whole thing where that kid went around and rather than calling water or H2O, he called it dihydrogen monoxide, which is just 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. And, but in using that, he listed the acidic, the solvent effects that more things have been destroyed on the planet due to dihydrogen monoxide than anything else that's ever been, and all the different things that it can kill, how deadly it is.
Regulate the substance.
and through that, he got his entire class, like I think it was like 90% of his class to vote to make that illegal.
Wow.
And this is the damn problem with the whole going back to the founding fathers where you need to have an educated society. It's not enough to write in strong laws where, like, I've seen it said that the Constitution is obviously a faulty document because it didn't do what was intended. But the founding fathers were very clear that the life tree of liberty must be refreshed occasionally with the blood of patriots and tyrants. They said patriots first, not tyrants first. So that means if you're too much of a bitch to be willing to go out and fight for your thing, then take what's coming to you. That's what's going to happen. And that's straight up. If you were, and that's again toward the feminization of society, where only men, the way men function, we have a set of guidelines, honor, and things like that. Women tend to function inside of whatever system is there. It doesn't necessarily matter what is there. They have much more, as an Odinist, because I'm an Odinist. So specifically, Odin says women's wills are woven on a wobbly wheel, meaning that their morals are, and it's supposed to be that way. They can't go in and get 3 of their friends and decide that they're going to go wipe out the local warlord. No. Like, that's not how that works. And so they have to fit more into the system, where men are the ones who are going to buck the system if the system's not acting right. And so when you feminize men, now those men, and there's always been a group of feminine men. That's even in the founding fathers' time. That's why only certain men were allowed to vote. I would state that the men's suffrage movement is what led to the women's suffrage movement, which is what led to where we are now, giving them weak, sissy ass men that are led around like women the same equal rights as actual men. That was the first damn problem. Those guys, they voted against us every time, and they're still the guys that do that. They're the bitches that wear the tight pants, and they're like, oh yeah, but the girls like them. Oh yeah, but girls like pegging me. Oh yeah, but the girls like when I let my other dudes fuck them. Like, you're not manly. I don't give a shit what you say about the girls liking it. That doesn't make you manly, dude.
Nope. Yeah, that's the thing. They vote for safety, right? They don't vote for for freedom, which is what men would vote for. So it's a terrible prescription, and it seems to be what's the desire from the people on top. So clearly they're benefiting from it. What are you going to do?
So let's go back to 2008 again, the Occupy Wall Street movement. People were recognizing the disparities of wealth gaps, and there's a idea of a 1% who are, controlling, but it's a small number of people, but they're making decisions controlling a large percent of the population, having to do with finances. Wall Street, banks were bailed out. People lost homes, but banks are too big to fail. The 1%. Yeah, did you?
Yep.
In 2008?
Well, no, I lost mine in 2015, but it was actually due to these policies that Bank of America had and stuff. They basically can just rob you by, they offered us a loan modification, and then we paid 3 months on it. And then we didn't pay the 4th month because it was a 3-month loan modification. And then they said, oh no, you were supposed to pay the 4th month automatically because you got approved for it. So then they took the house. Crazy. And then when they sold my house, just to bring that up, there was only one person that showed up to bid on it. I was at the actual auction, and the house was worth, I think its going value was like $439. And so they started the auction at like $220, which was basically about $10,000 over what I owed. And they started at $220, and one company said, okay, $230. They're like, all right, $230 going once, going twice, sold to $230. So I made $20,000 in what they call excess funds when you make more money than the house is worth. But the only reason we had really ultimately thought that we were going to make a lot more is because the house was worth $439. So I kind of told my wife, hey, it's going to be all right. If it sells for $400,000, we're going to make $200,000 on it. So it will be all right. But they clearly, Bank of America. And then I found out that company that bought the house works with Bank of America, of course. So it's all a scam. It's all a scam. They probably, they did put it in the newspaper. I don't know why nobody else showed up for it, but they were the only ones there. So one person bid on it. They work for Bank of America. They probably got the house and then immediately got the loan from Bank of America.
Yeah, the land transfer, in my opinion, has always been the game, no matter what. It's always the transfer of land. If they own the land, then they own everything. It doesn't matter if you have Bitcoins. It doesn't matter if you have any of that. Like right now, the way I live, at the end of the day, freaking, I got my own food. I produce my own power. I got water flowing out of the hill. Even if I ran out of fuel and ran out of power, the ground around everywhere, there's constantly food, constantly shit going on. I'll be all right.
Yeah. A lot of us are jealous of things like that. That's where I'd like to get. And it's just a decision you have to make and get out there and do it,
Well, funny story, Dave Weiss and I I think this was in South Carolina, had a little disagreement. And I told him he was trying to push crypto coin stuff on me, and I told him he was a fag. I said, I'm not gay though, when he started trying to talk to me about it. And he made a bet with me that one day that when he traded in his crypto for a farm, that I had to admit he wasn't a fag. I have not had to make that admission yet. I have noticed that.
You would have thought it was going to happen a lot faster, but it hasn't happened yet.
So, and for those over on Odin's Alchemy channel, which I turned on tonight for this special, we've gotten quite a few messages that apparently the Shadow Band followed Steve and Marcus and I, and even with the new channel opened up out of the bay and everything else. And even on this earlier, it said somebody was subscribed and looking for our channel. looking for the show and not able to find it. So Deliberating Dog-Faced Dudes is the name of our show. Apparently not particularly easy to find. I see all you guys are over on YouTube or on Odin's Alchemy because I turned that on. Come on over and join us on the Dog-Faced Dudes.
So explain it. I haven't seen the show. So it's the three of you usually debate somebody or just have a conversation about some topic?
The idea is to debate people, but we are having an extraordinarily hard time debating. Really what the impetus for starting the show was, I'd gotten tired of the truther community shenanigans quite some time ago. So I, started moving on. And I noticed that the red pill community and a lot of the younger men really pushing toward that, and then also pushing toward the Orthodox community. So it seems that our society has gotten so horribly out of control that a lot of younger men are wanting to be manly again, but the only way that they're feeling they can do that is in an Orthodox manner. And then there's also a bunch that are going red pill. And so we kind of wanted to offer an alternative and challenge some of these guys, because like I live a very manly life. My wife, like yourself, I don't do inside work. My wife does the dishes. She brings me my food and my drinks, things like that. But on the same token, if my wife the other day, she touched poop and she started crying, like, I literally have like 6 different kinds of poop on me at any given time. It's what I have to do outside. She doesn't want to go do those things. I don't do her things. She doesn't do my things. It's a very simple thing. And my masculineness allows her to be more feminine. So she gets to be more womanly because she feels safe and she can open herself up in that manner. And it's a very beautiful thing. And it's not a hate women thing. It's not a women or like I personally would not allow women to vote. And it's not because
fuck no.
And it's not because my wife is second class. My wife is the most important person in the world to me. Fucking test that and find out real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe if all women were in situations like that, maybe I'd think about letting them vote, but they're not. That's the problem, is that they're all out of whack. And so of course they're going to vote for what a man should do, which is safety, security. But then that actually leads to, obviously the problems that we have now, because we aren't able to live free because we voted ourselves out of it.
Well, I wouldn't even, like, at any given time, normally have numerous people living on my farm. I wouldn't let them vote either.
Right.
Like, and I'm not being an asshole. I value their opinions, and I value a lot of people's opinions, and I will take that into account because I want them to have a good life and they stick around me because I'm like that. But on the same token, if you aren't able to run a farm, why would I want you to run society? This is part of why, like, you take the cities. If you're living in an apartment, you're going to college, you have the right to vote, all your votes are going to be hedonist. Everything's going to be for this moment. It's not going to be for the future. Where myself, because I care about the people around and I want to see their success, and I want to see, I have fucking, what do I got? 8 grandkids now? 8 grandkids. I want their lives to be good. Like my decisions are going to not be have near the hedonism. I'm going to be willing to sacrifice some things now in order to know that the future is going to be better. Those are the people you want voting. And these other people, like, even when on the farm, when situations come up, my wife makes emotional decisions. She a lot of times thinks the opposite of what I do. So she doesn't get a vote. I just do what I'm going to do and do what's right. And she figures it out. But what she also does do that I don't do is she'll go around and make everybody feel better about it. And she'll do all that. I'm just like, you know what? Suck it up, Buttercup, you fuck. You see how it worked out? That's because it had to be like that. So shut up. Not my fault. You're too dumb to realize that. Right. That's the way I talk. My wife, she goes around and makes things better and is like, oh, well, see, that was obviously the decision. I realized that was hard and that sucked. Sometimes in order for new plant to grow back. Even though this old part that you've worked so hard on and watched, you've got to prune it back and let that die so that way the new shoots can come out and it'll grow much more vigorously afterwards. But the pain of this moment in this cutting is not going to be great. And you have to make those decisions, and that's what dudes do. Like if you look at it in a legal system, when in a legal manner, men are the law and women are mitigating circumstances. So when you look at the man's the law, this is what happens. Look at you did this thing, boom. Now after the fact, we go, oh, but he stole some food. He has kids. He got laid off 3 months ago. Maybe we ought not put this guy in fucking jail. Maybe we ought to just give him a little this and maybe try and get him a job or something. He'd probably be all right then. Or maybe the guy fucking's constantly stealing and he's just a shitbag and this is his 83rd charge and people have tried to give him jobs and he ripped off the people that he worked for and the whole nine. Now all those circumstances are what we're talking about. That's now going to flavor the black and white, but these are two very separate, distinct things that both need to happen.
For sure. I like the idea too of if you got to own a house to own a gun. I love that idea because you just would make a lot better decisions. You wouldn't have all these gangbangers that think they can just wield guns everywhere and there's no accountability for it. I just like that idea. I'm like, that's true. If you own a house, you would make very good decisions with a gun. You would make sure that you use it when it needs to be used.
I think that everybody should be able to own a gun. I do. I think that everybody should be able to own a gun. And I think that property owners are more likely to be proficient in owning a gun. Case in point, when I was staying at Ben's farm a few years ago, and there was a mountain lion problem. Ben had a fucking 308 sticking out the window. And there was a night where we had to run out and he threw me an AR and we went and chased this fucking thing down. We did because it was potentially going to attack one of the alpacas or maybe one of the cows.
That is what it was doing. It was hanging out, picking its food source.
Yeah. And so I think if you're proficient in firearms, you should be able to be proficient in firearms. I don't think that should be limited to home ownership. I think it should be something that every single individual is capable of doing. I think that is as much in this modern age a natural right as anything else.
I think there's some pretty big dirtballs in California, and they're problem makers. And if you give them guns, it makes it a lot easier because if they know that nobody else has guns, they can commit crimes.
Well, again, that's why I'm advocating for everybody to have guns.
Right. That's a good point. That if there was everybody having guns, then they would stop committing crimes because they would not feel comfortable going into a liquor store and robbing it. So
Sure.
Society is a polite society.
Are we talking about classifications of crimes and there's such a thing as a blue collar crime and a white collar crime? And a guy with a white collar crime could do so much more damage just by using his keyboard to click delete 0 here, change a decimal place there. This type of financial transaction.
Hundreds of lives, not just a couple. You didn't just go rob one family. You destroyed.
Jaren, I've worked on a lot of weed farms up in Northern California. I've always had a pistol on my hip when I do that.
Well, somebody owns that land.
Yeah, it's not necessarily my property, but it's my responsibility.
Gotcha. That's different for sure. You actually have a responsibility. I guess that's more what I'm talking about. When you have responsibility, you actually take responsible actions. When you don't have responsibilities, you kind of can wing it and do it.
And that's a breakdown of society, and that's an entirely different conversation. And I would love to get into that with you at some point.
I took your phone number down to Steve, so I will give you a call.
I do understand cities wanting gun rights because I do understand, like Steve was just explaining. For me, literally at any given time during the show, I might have to go running out. There could be a mountain lion, a bear, a bobcat, a tweaker.
It's
The most dangerous of all. Like, you don't know what's out there. Like,
it's probably tweaker before mountain lion or bobcat. It really is.
Yeah. We're in the city. Literally, when these people say things like, "What do you need a gun that shoots semi-automatic, except for if you're trying to kill people?" Well, they've never imagined a mountain lion on the run trying to attack your animals. Those things move like freaking magic, especially at night trying to follow them.
Right.
So, I mean, I at least get, where they're coming from. I think that part of the unanswerable question is our country's just too large, and people in the city are going to vote based on their experience, and people in the country are going to vote based on theirs. And there's never going to be a middle ground to be found because we don't share each other's experiences.
That's why we need to reclaim the state of Jefferson.
Yes.
Right now.
I agree.
Yes.
Good idea.
Reclaim Jefferson. I don't think there's ever been a better moment in this nation's history to actually do that than right now. I
100% agree.
I think we could push for a reclamation of Jefferson in this particular time and potentially make it a reality. And
if we can take Canada and Greenland and Mexico, why the fuck can't we break off from fucking California?
Let's draw a line in like Sonoma or something like that and move it up a little bit into Washington State up to, and we'll just, we'll take care of it. Leave us alone. Leave us the fuck alone.
Because they've screwed California, man. It is a disaster.
Yeah.
It's a disaster. And like, none of us.
I'm in Marin, man.
I'm still in Red County, and it's still disgusting. It's really bad. It's embarrassing what they've done.
My kids are in gold country. It's redneck as fuck, and it's still ridiculous there.
And you watch this guy, Gavin Newsom, will become president eventually. That's how dumb the country is. This guy's run this place into the ground, and he'll be the next Democratic president. So
that's where it's headed right now, man. I've been saying it for 5 years. They want Gavin Handsome in 2028. That's what the table's set for.
Even though you drive it for 99 and there's nothing but homeless at every single exit, just camps and bank. It's disgusting.
When everybody was thinking that, and I said this flat out, when everybody was like, "Oh, well, why did they have Kamala and stuff?" I was like, because she was a sheep to the slaughter. They knew she was going to win. If they wanted their best candidate, they would have put Newsom up, but they didn't want Newsom to lose.
They set that dumb bunny up to lose.
Yeah, 100%.
They had to.
Oh, for sure. In the news.
We don't get the current oligarchy. We don't get the current technocratic state if Harris is there. Too many reasonable people would push back against that. But with Trump, just like the way that NAFTA showed up,
right?
NAFTA was a George H.W. Bush plan. And all of the Republicans and all of the actual like sovereign citizens and people were like, "You're crazy. No, I'm never going to do that." As soon as Bill Clinton got into office, they were like, "Hey, I guess we're going to do that now."
Hey, how about I just put my penis in your mouth, baby?
Wrote the Patriot Act in 1995, or co-authored. His name was on it. He probably didn't write a goddamn thing. He was in the middle of a cocaine aneurysm. But
how do you fucking write? How do you oversee the 3 strikes laws and the mandatory minimums? And then just a few fucking years later, you're the one out acting like the other team did it. You fucking wrote it.
Are those
that is your only
prisons?
Political achievement, Biden. That was the only political achievement he had before being president. Is fucking the 3 strikes laws and the mandatory minimums and being part of that. And then they're gonna come out like, and Joe Biden's like, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Why the fuck? What? That was crazier than the freaking hairy leg speech.
He told that to the whitest black man in American history in Charlemagne the God. He really did. show me that's Samuel L. Jackson in Django Unchained with worse clothes. All right. Fuck that guy.
That's hilarious.
He's ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. But Joe Biden was allowed to say that to Charlemagne because Charlemagne wasn't gonna push back on it because he was like, "Oh yes, boss. Yes, boss."
Well, I went and got that fat lady, the fat lift rapper girl, a couch just to sit on instead of a chair.
Yeah.
So I mean, you knew the guy's ready to do anything.
They should have brought in a forklift.
Yeah. Dude, that's what I would have had to have done when I was fucking moving the furniture around. I'd have been making those noises.
Man.
So
It was fun,
Jaren,
guys. I gotta go. I gotta head out. But
hold on just one
okay.
second, Jaren. To finish your earlier question, we've had zero success. Every single ortho bro and every red pill dude that we've tried to hit up and train people has bailed, told us they won't debate.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. We are
wanna
having,
deliberate.
if you want to help us with that, we would love some help. We can't seem to pick fights for nothing, including Andrew Wilson 4 months ago told me he was going to fucking debate me. He won't debate for shit. Jay Dyer is really, Marcus was mostly going to debate you, you know, with me also being on that side. I was fighting Jay Dyer. He bailed on that and made bitch ass excuses. Like just over and over, just can't get into fucking fights. You know, they and the ones that are like, there's literally a dude on YouTube. He puts up, why won't anybody debate me? And I haven't lost. Fucker removed the fucking. I showed up on his
Makes
show
the videos
talking
private
about
and
nobody will debate him.
Who's that?
I showed up, stomped him and his friends' ass. They pulled it off YouTube.
There's a clip on our Deliberating Dogface Dude YouTube channel
What's the name of him?
of
Not,
Balderson on the Verbal Combat stream. There was other times when Balderson and Steve were on the show. We were linking to that clip. That clip has been made private, so we can't share that fairly, bringing traffic to that channel. You know, we're in good faith. We want to play fair. We can all, you know, iron sharpened iron. We can all grow our channels and our viewerships and do well with bringing about inconvenient truths and discussing them like adults,
right?
And saying, well, this is what we see. Do you agree with what I see? Do you see things differently? What's the problem? Who are we going after? Who is to blame? How do we take responsibility?
Who was the guy that you said is making you know, basically challenges saying he'll debate anybody? Who was that?
Fuck, that's all of them. That's fucking Jay Dyer.
They
That's
all
fucking
say
Andrew
that
Wilson.
shit, dude. And
That
every
fucking
time,
every one of them.
every single time, Jaren, any one of us just walks up and headbutts these dudes. They're like, no.
Never mind. I'm out.
Yeah, won't
No.
even talk shit back. Like they'll talk shit to every OnlyFans girl, every retard. Literally, they'll be like, "I'll set up a debate right now," consistently, but fucking have nothing to do with fucking debating any of us, and bailed on the debates. Won't have nothing to do with it. I can't even explain it, man.
Doesn't make any
I
sense.
appreciate you very much, Jaren.
Yeah.
I feel much
coming on.
calmer now. I was frothing at the mouth earlier. I was very upset that, you know, 2008 is where we're still at. We haven't solved the 1% problem. We haven't solved the housing crisis problem. We haven't solved anything. And Bitcoin, this beautiful tool that could have been used to further everybody's financial goals, to distribute wealth to everybody who plays the game, who assumes the risk and plays the game. But due to the issue of the human heart, due to fear and greed and stockpiling gold, not spreading it around, again, that's a human condition. We'll have to examine that further in further debates and deliberations. But I'm still upset that Bitcoin showed promise. The white paper is still a white paper. The technology still exists. It's still available to use. We can still transfer value. We can still do a value for value model. But now when people create content and arrange conversations and then say, hey, we can make a value for value arrangement available, it's less than 10% of people who exchange any sort of value, and then maybe 10% of that 10% exchange a financial value for conversations that are leading them to make better life decisions, which are Christ.
I don't make shit in this game. I cover my bills, I cover my child support and those bills, and I fucking make sure there's groceries in the fridge, and yet I still manage to support Jamie Deluxe's weed habit and a couple other people in this game, dude. I really do. Like,
Do you think they
I'm
made life too easy? Is that the reason that people don't see the value in it?
I think people
Oh,
think
dude.
that they're supposed. I think people think that hodl means hoard,
Mhm.
and that you should never ever put that back into your community. And I think there's a huge disconnect in the Bitcoin community as far as the people who are like, whales or whatever, where they don't understand that if all you do is hold on to it, then you're the singular owner of fucking nothing when it comes down to it.
We don't
And if
have
we
a Bitcoin
don't have a
economy.
real conversation about community, this is my thing,
What do you think
Jaren.
about Picoin though? Because I just
Okay,
mentioned it.
Litecoin
No,
is
Picoin, Pi.
a Picoin. Here's the thing, though, dude. Is Picoin creating the culture that we want to live in instead of the culture that we have to react to? Because I want to create the culture that we want to live in instead of the culture that we're forced to react to. And we
Right.
can't do that without people stepping up and making sure that that's inevitable. And
Yeah,
if
but
they're
the
not
government,
going
that's
to
going to
do
be tough,
that,
right? The government has laws about KYC, which just causes the same rut every time. I mean,
Mhm.
Picoin's a great idea, and they've got 11 million people that are already in the system. But the problem with that is they all had to be KYC to get in. So it's really no different than anything else. It's just going to be an exclusionary between the people that don't want a KYC in and the people that do.
Greg's fucking nailing it right here. Invest your money with the people who love you. That's it. That's it. That's where your investments should ultimately lie, in the people that you want to see succeed. And
That's
if
why
you
families
don't,
should, families used to stay together and be like live together. They buy land together because that's great. Because then if you're renting out a house to somebody, it's to your family, so they are, it's important to get them to pay back and to
I'm a
teach.
clamper, dude. It's family first,
Beautiful. Yep.
all day, every day.
That's the way it should be.
Jaren, I'm sorry to interrupt this conversation. Ben told me that I needed to come say what I wanted to say.
Hello.
I wanted to thank you for being open-minded enough to come back and say that you can change your mind based on things that you've seen. I respect people who are willing to change their opinion based on evidence. I don't know what you saw. I wasn't there. We all have our own very, very different beliefs that land somewhere in between. And I wanted to say kudos and respect for being willing to change your mind and doing it very, very publicly and doing it amidst a whole lot of fire.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. It was came down to being honest with my audience.
Out knowing you were going to get stomped on.
Yeah,
that takes fucking balls, dude. It
truth is the most important thing. So if you gotta, I'd rather be loved or I'd rather be hated for telling the truth than loved for telling a lie, for sure. So
hell yeah,
that's what it would have taken. That's what
appreciate you, man.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to run, but you have me on again. We'll talk about another subject. I think I learned some stuff tonight and some stuff I want to look into. And obviously, crypto the way it is now is not the crypto that was intended. And you're right; it is a tool that we could have used, but everybody's so afraid. And I hear everybody saying, "Oh, the CIA set it up," and it's like, well, if that's how you feel about every new technology or anything that comes along, then you're just already cashing in your ticket to just be whatever bitch the government wants you to be this week. So. Good luck to you.
And by the way, dude,
thanks for coming in, Jaren. We really appreciate it. It was great.
First, from your number, and tell me that you're you, because otherwise, I'm never gonna fucking pick that shit up.
Who the fuck's this guy? Well, yeah. 831. I think. Well, my area code's 408. But anyway, all right. I'll text you right now. Thanks,
all
guys.
Right, brother.
Take it easy.
That was fun.
Yeah, good show. Good show.
I'm going to crack open another Ricola now and just relax a little bit. I feel a lot calmer having gotten a debate under the belt.
Marcus in there just getting it.
bringing up some interesting points and deliberating with the meaning and the possible outcome. Shout out to Odin's Alchemy and all the places that are seeing this on a stream.
I was having a fucking blast being a moderator and not having to talk all night. I was playing fucking guitar and mandolin for the last like 2.5 hours. It's been fun as shit. This is my favorite show ever. It is.
Do we have a topic for next week that we're certain of?
Isn't Emily on next week?
Yeah, Emily Moyer next week. I think you're mostly talking simulation theory.
Okay. So deliberating on simulation theory and what that means.
And I am moderating next week.
Okay.
I have no desire to fight with Emily. and tonight stayed way calmer but I mean, I kind of really expected tonight too. Jaren's a very level-headed dude. Doesn't get real excited. Even if the other person gets excited, I haven't really ever seen him get too excited. Like he's been in some Christian debates where he's like, the Christian God's not worthy of being worshipped, and says, and then goes into some of the things from the Bible, and he gets harsh, and he gets called all kinds of things. So I mean, he's got thick skin. I've never seen him get worked up. So I didn't expect tonight to have too much heat, but you never know where it's going to go when you start having a debate, and whether it's going to, you know what, somebody's going to get pissed because you disagree. And I just don't want to go there. So I'm modding.
Yeah, the open debate platform Tuesday nights. We'll host anyone who wants to come on and talk about whatever issue they want to bring up. You do some peer pressure and then tweet at people and shout at people a little bit and see if that'll bring people on. I know
Steve and I have been throwing the punches on the tweeters, and it's amazing. I've seen all these guys. They really react to just about anybody, and it doesn't seem to matter. And anybody that they think they can fight with. And Steve and I fucking throw punches, and it's just universal crickets, to the point where it's like, is there some kind of a mandate to not respond to us? What the fuck is going on?
There has to have been
facts around. Is there a secret chat group that we're not in?
There is a secret chat group that we're not in, and you guys, some of this is really my fault. It really is. Because I have a little bit more reach than, Weaving Spiders or Odin's Alchemy in some in these areas.
Yeah.
Like Ben gets invited.
I just got on the Twitter like 4 months ago.
Ben gets invited to conferences all the time. He's a presenter. He's known. He's a very known quantity. As far as all of this goes, I'm a fairly observable shit poster. And sometimes when you headbutt somebody, they're like, "Oh fuck, I guess we're squaring up."
Well, Twitter rewards that sort of behavior with that engagement.
It should, except for when you square up and headbutt somebody and you're down to finish it. Like what Twitter is I'm gonna quote tweet this guy and try to ruin his life. You can't do that to me because I have the same amount of followers as you, or I have a more savage audience than you, or so when there's actual competition, most of these fucking deep fried faggots run away.
tuck tail and run.
Well, I've noticed like the pagans that both Andrew and fucking Jay like to debate are these dumb fucking LARPer kids. Not somebody that's fucking established, not somebody that's actually studied the histories, not somebody that's actually studied the stories, actually tries to live the life. Oh, you bet the fucking kid that lives in his fucking mom's basement wearing the fucking dark eyeliner and shit, sitting there saying dumbass, mostly Theosophical Society beliefs. Like, yeah, that kid's a fucking idiot. You can beat him up. Oh, gee, I can take candy from babies. It's impressive. Like, get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? And then you're going to sit and post nobody defeats me? Well, yeah, did you face anybody for the last fucking 2 or 3 years that was worth a fuck? Or do you spend 95% of your time arguing with fucking retards and leftists, which are all retarded? Like the hard left, these people are mentally deranged. Like when you talk about, like, if you're somebody that's confused about what gender they are, that person literally is mentally deranged. To out debate them is not that impressive of a feat. They're literally something wrong in their brain.
I like hanging out in the sane center, just kind of in the middle area. And then I can look in different directions and say, there's a different perspective over here. There's a different perspective over here. Let's come together. And you tell me what you see. I'll tell you what I see. And then we can deliberate the details. And then we can, through debate, expose more information and then figure out, well, what are we going to do? What are actionable things we can do based off of the evidence we've gathered in the current situation? That's what this is about. We're not here to prove the existence or the unexistence of God. We're not trying to rehash the debates that philosophers 500 years ago already written down.
Yeah, no, I'll even give you that your God probably, your Jew God probably exists from the desert. He's a cunt. Not worth fucking following. I'm with you with Jaren on that one 100%. Without a doubt, today's liberal, unaccountable world. Oh, gee, Jesus died to save my sins. I'm an evil person without redemption. I can't figure out why that particular philosophy would lead to this completely no account, no drive, bunch of worthless shits. No idea how those two things could ever cross. Some other dude, you guys pretend like you're manly men. Some other dude pays my way into heaven, you cucks. The whole lot of you. That's you, Jay Dyer, you pink wearing Miami Vice thinking cunt. That's a cuck ass shit. Oh, this dude had to die for me so I cannot be a worthless piece of shit. But I think I'm cool. You are so fucking gay.
Pay taxes to Caesar and pay tithes to the church. Fine, do that.
You're goddamn lucky that fucking Freeman don't really give a shit about fucking being well known or taking big credits for things. Your best work always was his, you worthless shit. Shouldn't you be off giving hobos hand jobs, buying a dumpster for fucking or something?
Hey, look, you need a spot at Yuck Yucks in Nashville, so you're gonna do what you're gonna do.
You guys want to go to a horror convention sometime?
No, but everybody should go to the Third Eye Carnival.
I would love to go to the Third Eye Carnival.
We should set one up at your spot. We should.
We should. Fucking, I blew both the damn Hall and Madrone. I blew both the damn freaking springs, rear relief springs on my truck. Like, just snap, just like, they're TP'd up and everything. Like, oh no.
That's an interesting.
I would say that they perverted that story.
I would say that's a great debate to have.
The dying of the ego, which is the carbon body, in order to get to the pure self. I 100% agree. Yeah, that's alchemical, without a doubt. don't take me shit talking to the Jay Dyer and them as personal or nothing, and don't think that my mom's a Christian. I can 100% see that there's some good things in this. I think the churches are fucked up, and I can see where some of the stories, but our stories have gotten perverted also. That's why I run things through an alchemical filter, and I can absolutely pull that out. So I'm not trying to offend the Christians and everybody, just trying to pick some fights. And I actually don't like Jay Dyer because he's just a cunt, and all of his best work is stolen and his lady. So yeah, he's just made. Like I was willing to just leave all that out. I don't give a crap about
we were all willing to leave it out, dude.
And I'm personal friends with Freeman.
Fucking crazy. I was trying to explain that on the show the other day.
You have been so discreet. You guys have been so discreet for many, many weeks about a lot of different people who have been in private messages and conversations with you guys, and it's not been going well. And now there's a time of revealing. There's a grace period. You've been given invitations out, and people have ignored the invitations, denied the invitations, say, I'll never go on your show. So once they say they'll never appear on a show, they burnt the bridge, and we have to explain to our audience what happened.
Yeah, no, shit, man. I've had literal fires in my life where I've had to come back and talk to everybody about the actual fires that took place. If
Came and stayed at my house once because he was evacuated from his house from a fire.
It's true, and it wasn't like he hadn't even made it to his house yet. I got it. I ain't there just before he did.
I said, I ain't there, but go ahead, Steve. I don't give a fuck.
I don't know if you guys understand how far me and Ben go back, but yeah, dude, I showed up to his property that he's living on right now before he did because I had to evacuate from a wildfire. And I was like, well, shit, dude, if I have to take my family to a safe place, I want to take them to as far away from where California is burning as possible. So let me run the fuck up north. And Ben was like, yeah, pull up. We're not there yet. We're on the way. We're loading up the fucking we're loading up the animals. We'll be there when we get there. By the way, road's a little rough.
Yeah, blew 2 leaf springs, hauling the drone. And Christy went to go get hay today, and the fucking axle's fucking doing this number. It's fucking crab walking on us.
Yeah.
And shit, no. And we were out of fuel. So I had to leave the generator off until I was like, okay, because the Suburban, the suspension shot also, because you can't live on this road for more than 6 months without your suspension being shot on your vehicle.
Fuck no.
And freaking so they're putzing around, and I'm like, God. So I turned on the generator 15 minutes before the show started because it takes like 10 minutes for the internet to warm up and give Elon Musk a hand job, before it'll turn on. And freaking, once it's on, the Starlink's fantastic, but it takes it like 10 minutes to kick on.
It's another tool we're using, talking bad about its founder and CEO.
I don't like any of his other products. I ain't gonna lie, Starlink is fantastic, and I wanted to bring up during the debate that just like Sears, get off my keyboard. Just like Sears, you look at what Elon Musk is doing right now. He just got the whole thing so he can have that traveling internet.
Yeah, I mean, is that military grade? Is that what they would describe as military grade?
They're talking about, yeah, dude. They're talking about that shit being like $60. That's cheaper than your phone bill. And most people, they do all their everything through apps on the internet, anyways. Elon Musk fucking puts a calling app onto one of his things and attaches a calling app. He'll fold fucking Verizon and AT&T and everybody. Who gives a shit about them? Like Starlink works everywhere. Like he'll fold every fucking telephone company that's a blue chip company that's the big bucks right now. Them suckers would be dead overnight if Elon Musk fucking just puts out a little thing, and now you just got the Starlink phone, and it just right through the internet. Because like hell, my even my house phone is through the internet because we don't even have house phone up here. Like that's through the internet. There was Frontier here years ago, but they gave up. Not enough people to fix them fucking lines.
Well, and that brings up another point that I didn't bring up during the debate, but it was this issue of how does Bitcoin cryptocurrency benefit, the unbanked people in sub-Saharan Africa. There's always talk of helping the mother who's, in some African village who can't have a bank account, but we could give her a cell phone that has internet.
That's only through the internet if she can't have a bank.
Well, they talked about there was ideas about having these micro loans where you'd give women in Africa enough to buy a house and a cow and some supplies.
All you need is some fat middle-aged white chick that used to act or sing, and she'll go over and pretend like she
leave Amy Schumer out of this.
Well, the debate would be
she was never funny.
No, never.
Does it benefit?
The only reason Amy Schumer was funny was because of Kurt Metzger.
Yeah.
He wrote all those fucking jokes. He won an Emmy for it.
The Bitcoinization of the entire realm, globe, world thing where all the human beings of sentient consciousness exist, not all of them are using money. Not all of them are using cryptocurrency.
Most of them in them third world areas, money's not really that much of a thing.
But this was the idea to introduce to them a smartphone that would connect to the internet over Skylink, so they could be banked, so they could have.
Let's make them materialists like us. It'll be awesome.
Correct. That's the idea. And there was some Bitcoin bros who are like, this is good for Bitcoin. The more people who use Bitcoin, the greater demand for Bitcoin. Meaning, my Bitcoin is going to cost more in terms of United States dollar than is Bitcoin because of this 21 million Bitcoin de-inflationary sort of scheme. So if everybody's using Bitcoin, if everybody on the globe uses Bitcoin, then the price has to go up to infinity. But then we use the fractional decimal point thing where we can have, one Bitcoin can go down to 8 places. So you can have, indivisible by whatever 8 points. And then, everyone can have Bitcoin and everyone can use Bitcoin.
What does Zoe Smith filling in for 6 mean?
So Zoe Smith is a medical whistleblower who came out really, really early during the COVID shit. She's written an incredible book called My Life with the Thrill Kill Medical Cult. And I would highly recommend that people go and try to find that.
Watch that on a non-YouTube.
Usually on Tuesday nights, we host on the AM Wake Up channels the New Prisoners live with number 6. 6 is augmented his schedule, so
we were better. We had a 7.
Yeah, we're gonna have a different different program.
You thought you were cooler than spiders, but we had a 7, not a 6.
Okay, we have a 6.
Way cooler to be a 7.
He's good with being a 6.
Do you have a TV Guide magazine for your scheduling programming blocks and
yeah, we do.
Actually, our 7 has no self-preservation skills. When they started having a shootout in the Walmart across the street, in the parking lot, back and forth with the cops, he stuck his head up above the brick wall to look, and was tall enough to do so. I damn near tackled him. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You don't stick your head above the thick brick wall when there's bullets flying.
Right. That's an argument for simulation.
Zoe did that, dude. She did. She has stuck her neck out.
This was literal bullets.
Yeah. Well, Trine Day Publishing, the published Whitney Webb's book,
wouldn't even publish Zoe's book.
Ooh.
It's spicy.
Hot potato.
Yeah. So like she's gone deep in the paint and deserves way more fucking recognition than what she gets. Shout out to Zoe. If she's got shit going on, you should probably go check it out. You should. Highly recommend you get into. She was a medical coder, Ben. She was working as a fucking coder for the billing and shit like that in COVID, during COVID.
We're automatically seeing the, we don't want this episode pulled. We just need to stop. You guys go find her. Enjoy it. It's not going to be on YouTube. Don't look there.
AMWakeUpShow.com, AlanMarcus.com has got some links to some podcast archives for more Deliberating Dogface Dudes episodes.
Emily Moyer next week. Jay Dyer not the week after because he's a chicken shit
bitch made fucking just full on mow. Steal a bitch mow.
But you know, when your entire philosophy is this fucking this desert Mediterranean dude paid my bill and otherwise I'm just a bitch, I gotta believe him.
Mm-hmm.
Come fight us, Ortho Bros.
For the love of God, just square up with somebody who's in your weight class that will punch you back. That's the problem. These fucking bitch made simpletons don't want a real fight. They just want easy wins. Even the guy easy in his name just wants an easy win. And that's not how the world works. The world works where sometimes you kill it and sometimes you choke. You know?
The best fights in the UFC weren't one-sided. That's not the way people enjoy it. It's and when you come out and you're fucking debating people that don't know the difference between a man and a woman, between a boy and a girl, but you're proud of out debating the person. Come on. I know your whole Christian thing is a cuck thing and Odin's for men, but don't then at least admit you're cucks. Admit that you're just little cucks that can't get on that can't be real men on your own. Cool then. Don't go bragging.
Look, everybody wants a good relationship with their dad, Ben. Everybody does.
The entire Orthodox Bro Bible study can join us on a Tuesday night. How many people can we fit into a StreamYard?
I have a good relationship with my dad. When he comes, he asks me what we're going to do.
But here's it, like, ultimately, this is where we're at with the whole like debate bro world. The whole debate bro world is set up for easy wins and big fucking losses. And what we're ultimately trying to do is get some answers.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Just get some fucking answers.
Shit. You come to some middle grounds. It's a good time. Life gets better.
I can't fucking...
You make friends.
I can't... I'm risking my bandwidth right now to do this because I've been getting internet bars of death all night. I can't tell you how many times Ben and I have gone like toe to toe in his living room. And then we go outside and smoke a joint, or we go over like 5 feet away and take a dab and get over it or get through it or whatever, because it's not about necessarily the point of view or the argument. It's because we needed to hash some shit out, and we did that.
and we're still fucking friends. In fact, we're fucking brothers. Like I trust this dude with my life. He's dressed me down a few times. He has. And he was right when he did it. I dressed him down a few times, and I was right when I did that. Like, it's okay. It's okay. You can have difficult conversations with people. It's probably the only way that you fucking learn shit. I don't know, kids. There's a better way. There is. We're trying to put it forward. Share the show. Tell people about it.
I'm not gonna be friends with you though, Jay Dyer. Fuck off.
You could actually kiss like the bottom of my dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full on. I do want to fight, but we won't be friends afterwards. You nut like little cunt.
Yeah, no, I'm Bryce Mitchell in this shit at this point.
I was ready to go there the whole time. When Steve was talking about that dude who's too chicken shit to debate Marty Leeds and people like that too. When Steve was talking about that dude, I've been friends with Freeman Fly for a long time. Fucking, I've eaten at his house. He's taken me out to supper and fucking the whole night, taking me out to restaurants and shit. Like, you can fuck off. He is one of the most humble, nicest dudes I've ever in my life met. Straight up. And you fucking OG, and he don't want to fight. I do. Let's go ahead and dip our hands in the broken glass and have at it, bitch. It's okay. I'll fight like that too. Most people I want to be frenemies with and want to have some type of a nice relationship with you, but no, you broken glass. Let's have that out verbally. And you can tell me all about your high ideals and moral high horse. Fucking gangrenous moral high horse if I ever seen it.
We'll be here next
like
Tuesday.
That Revelation passage where you all pawn it off like it's a pale white horse sounding all majestic, but in the actual language, that's a gangrenous horse. Gross ass little bitches. I would need somebody to give me a free pass too if I had morals like that. And then couldn't grow up out of it. Still acting like that. Throwing a pitch in a fit like that, fucking about an infograph. Are you shitting me? Oh, I need an excuse to get out of the debate. I'm Big Bad Jay Dyer. I went to college for this. I wear pink.
Maybe it's salmon. I don't know. Does he call it pink or does he say it's salmon?
You know what? I have too much testosterone to know the difference. Yeah, this will not let me hear. It's like a filter. I just see pink. There's varying shades, I'm sure, in between there and red or whatever other colors on the other side of pink, but I don't see them. It's either pink or it's not. Oh shit! At the time, my wife's aunt was dating this guy, and he had this geo tracker, and I guess it was fuchsia. Like, and that dude was like that, and I'm like, wow. What exactly inspired you to get a pink little bitty car like that? And he's like, it's fuchsia. Oh, that made it better. Totally, I'm thinking you're less gay now. Yeah, totally not thinking that anymore. But you know that differentiation.
Steve's booking a Tuesday night right now.
What?
You think Steve's booking a Tuesday night right now?
Steve is yeah, he's looking very reasonable right now. We're gonna say that his dog humped the neighbor's dog, even though the he's like, you know what? He's got giant balls and he's got too much testosterone. That's what he's saying right now. He's got too much testosterone. You know what? His dad just had to have his nuts removed because his prostate swelled up too much and he couldn't pee because he overproduced testosterone. And I didn't want that to happen to my dog. And I'm real sorry, but you know what? Apparently your dog's real sexy, and he said so. And you know what? I will try, and I'm going to talk to the listeners right now. Value for value. Send some dog food. See, look, he's, send some dog food and
amwakeup.com.
amwakeup.com. Please try and make it high quality. These guys are used to, the freeze-dried fish guts, but I will get some guys to pay you some child support, and, Gomez will be able to pee for the, at least 6 months, because of this. And then next time, I'll go down to the dog park with this, and I'll leave you alone. Oh shit. That was great. This is what happens when you're the one with the end the stream button, and then you're also on the show.
This is in the members only bonus section, extra hour. This is all the people who provide the most value in the second part behind the members paywall. And this is the type of content they provide.
Yes.
It's like, listen, I know it's a full-sized poodle. I realize that. And yeah, he's a pit bull. Yeah, he's purebred. Yeah, them are gonna make some weird puppies. I don't even know what we're gonna do at that point. Tyr was peeing better today. So yay, Tyr.
That's good. That's good.
Pig salmon, it all tastes like fish. Exactly, Gregory.
How's Spookums doing? We haven't had a visit from Spookums.
Oh yeah.
There's a
Hi,
Spookums.
Hi, Spookums. Of course, Spookums is right here. He's my debate bro. And my cutest is behind me, overseeing.
Up on the shelf.
Yeah. She's my oldest cat. I've had her. Well, she was my kids' cat, and then when my kids got old and left, then she stayed. And in fact, she lived in South Dakota with me, and lived in the whole time at the other house in California, and now the whole time at this house. I've had her for a long time.
Pair bonding over a long period of time. That's how you make friends.
Yeah. And most of those guys, like even the ortho bros, like I respect a lot of their lifestyle and a lot of what they uphold and whatnot, and I'd like to, have it out with some of them. That's what dudes do. They headbutt, and then they make friends. Then they headbutt again. It's okay. Like Steve said, a lot of the fights we got into, like it was literal, damn near nose to nose, fucking, and you just bellering at each other, and then we're done. We say our piece, then we go. A lot of times, either like he said, either go get high, or go do whatever project. Oh, we got shit to go do. Let's go do it. All right. Who fucking cares? That's what dudes do. And I don't understand the, I mean, I understand, do I have to do something like say I won't talk about rocks and their gods? Is that the problem? Was it too much?
Well, if you set up guardrails and put bumpers in the gutters when you're bowling, then when you promise your audience a no holds barred debate, any topic, anytime, any place, Tuesday night, so long as it's Tuesday night, then it's going to be very sanitized.
I even with like Andrew, I said, I'll come on your show. You can come on our show.
Mm-hmm.
We can set it up. I don't give a fuck. And I said, I was trying to be real reasonable about it. I understand he's a way busy guy, and I'm not. Well, I got my farm shit, but I can usually arrange around if you say, oh, well, I want to do it on so and so on my show on this time. But then also I expected him to, it was supposed to be 2 debates, so I expected at least one of them to be on our channel. And the one I actually would have rather saw would have been like either him or him and his wife debating us about a cult on our channel.
Sure.
Is what I wanted to definitely.
The occult feminism.
But I was definitely willing to go on Crucible or on whatever fucking other neutral station and have a, I'm okay. Let's have a few fights. It's okay. It's okay. So I don't know. Man.
Steve's making really big order. So getting the pizzas and the tacos and the burritos and the enchiladas.
It's like, she's got how many puppies in there? They did an ultrasound? He does shoot big loads. That's good. That's good genetics. See you next week, guys. Oh, he doesn't. He didn't shut the show up. He just pulled himself. That was fucking awesome. That was the exact way that should have went down. That is awesome. We're into the after hours now, boys. Holy shit.
This is the ASMR special. Soft spoken. We'll talk you down from the cliff.
While we're at it, I'll box you too, Jim Bob.
Made by Jim Bob.
Made by Jim Bob. Let's call him out too. Ortho Bros. I don't know what Ortho Bros I'm missing on this.
I still want to debate an orthodontist.
An orthodontist.
Someone who pulls out people's teeth. And this whole idea of corrective teeth straightening stuff.
I've never done the teeth straightening, but I did have to have my wisdom teeth removed. And I know in the community they talk about, that doing that is harmful and blah, blah, blah. Them buggers didn't have room. They were rotting inside. They weren't like good teeth anymore. They were falling apart because they were sitting in there.
Well, let's get some more information. Let's get some more information about the topic and kind of figure out what causes gum disease, what causes cavities. How often should we floss at all? I mean, everyone has the same mouth. Everyone has the same type of teeth. Everyone can eat the same type of foods.
I don't use toothpaste.
It's abrasive.
It really is that's all it is an abrasive. And then I don't use it. I do floss and brush my teeth, but I don't use toothpaste.
We've talked a lot about
like if you ever use it on jewelry, it works real good. It's a real nice, mild abrasive for jewelry and stuff, shining up your jewelry.
Right.
But I don't use it on my teeth. I mean, I'm old enough that my teeth are starting to go anyways, but up till now, I've only got three freaking fillings with all.
There's a certain point where like oral hygiene is going beyond what's necessary and going so far beyond you end up damaging. I'm talking about people bleaching their teeth or pulling out teeth to put on Da Vinci veneers.
Can you imagine like all these people that just because they don't like their teeth have them yanked out and then have their bones drilled into with a freaking stud and then have a tooth like studded into their mouth? Like, wow.
Yeah. We've gotten so insane in terms of, cosmetic surgery, plastic surgeries, reconstruction, non-necessary medical procedures due to body dysmorphia and public pressure and other things.
Christy likes that whatever podcast,
Mhm.
and freaking the girls on there, they're like 20. She finds it entertaining. I didn't say you wanted to be like anybody there. So
you just said the girls are, and I said,
oh, the girls are entertaining. Well, no, but I was talking about the plastic surgery. The girls are only. I was trying to think of an age. I'd say that most of the girls are 25 and under, and like a substantial percentage has already had plastic surgery. You're going, wow. And these are, I presume that most of the, they get some real weird looking ones, but I presume that they try and get more attractive girls on the show and whatnot. And these girls are all going out and getting surgeries and everything else. And these are the ones who are the most attractive, and they're young and everything else.
There's a certain aesthetic that is popular amongst young women of today. And if we look back through certain Sears catalogs or JCPenney catalogs or Victoria's Secrets or swimwear catalogs, and you can see different makeup styles, different hairstyles over time. But even in just normal looking people looking at yearbook photos, like senior photos, to see what people look like, that sort of changes over time. And there's taste makers that determine what styles, lip fillers, fuller lip, or how to do eyebrows.
It's very that Hunger Games-esque. Very Hunger Games-esque, like we're the capital. Like I can't imagine women in most countries are disfiguring themselves just like out the gate. Like that's like even that show didn't quite show that kind of level of craziness of disfiguring yourself. And yeah, I don't particularly care. I don't care for the whatever show myself. Them girls drive me nuts. I can't take it. But I also don't try and, like, Christy enjoys watching the breakdown of that interaction and how to fix it. And she enjoys a lot of that. She enjoys the masculine speakers like Andrew, like you're saying. Not really and then there's a few others she likes that come on recurring. She doesn't really like the girls. She just likes how to overcome that type of mentality type thing. But yeah, I can't take it. I can't sit through it. It's one of those things. I go outside and go to work, and we'll come back in and out. I like it better than when she used to listen to all the murdery podcasts. Yeah, true crime. Yeah, true crime podcast. I like this. I like it better than that. Although I don't, again, I'm usually just in and out. Like I'm just coming in from work and I'm only going to be sitting here for 5 minutes or something. So it's not like I'm like, oh no, you must watch what I want to for 5 minutes and then change it back when I leave. Like, it's kind of douchey. No, we are stuck like Chuck. It's hilarious. We tried to get Steve to turn it off and he left instead.
We're on a value for value telethon, and we're going to go all night until we get all the value extracted.
That was sorry, I had to jump there for a minute. That was Sammy Tripoli.
Oh shit. He'll never come debate either.
Well, he doesn't want to do that shit, man. He doesn't.
No,
he doesn't.
No, Sam said, dude, he had a whole show where he debated all the time called Conspiracy Social Club.
No, that was him fucking with Brian Callen.
It was a good show. I really enjoyed that show.
his new co-host ain't it, dude. Oh,
the little Jewish kid.
Yeah,
No.
Dylan, something like that. But
give him some constructive criticism, some feedback, and some notes, and let the guy improve.
That was a check-in from Sam, and he just wanted to clarify some details for the thing that we're doing in Nashville.
The April thing.
Mm-hmm.
Are the details on AM Wake Up Show for the April event?
Yeah, I need to add the website from Anartist Collective. But I'm, lazy and bad at that shit when it comes to plugging things into the interwebs.
No, and I wouldn't want a hardcore debate, Sam. Like, it would be friendly at the best. If he ever did do something like that, I wouldn't want a hardcore debate him. He's not like that. I get it.
I went on his show last year and told like everybody what the fake and gay landscape of independent media was, and he wouldn't let me get a fucking word in because it's like half of his friends.
Yeah.
But I'm back on Tinfoil Hat on March 12th. And all we're gonna do is talk about the event and shit like that. Sam's headlining my fucking show, and it's gonna be a much more friendly conversation than the last one.
That's the whole damn thing. I'm all for debates. We have this whole debate show, but that doesn't mean you walk around debating people all the motherfucking time. Like, like a family event. You have a reunion or Christmas or something. You can get through it without having to fucking fight with your family. The whole